Chapter 954. The battle between the two sides had entered a white-hot stage. Both sides were not ordinary characters. Crown Prince Crocodile was a rare genius in the Vanishing Shadow poisonous crocodile clan. His understanding of martial arts had naturally reached the point of perfection. Yi Shiwen had the mysterious space, which could continuously decompose martial arts and deepen his understanding. He was even better than Crown Prince Crocodile. Both sides' understanding of martial arts could be regarded as masters. It might not be apparent on normal days, but it was fully reflected in a real battle between the two sides. Every time the two sides exchanged blows, traces of the nomological laws could be seen. The nomological laws wrapped around their bodies, circle after circle, and the originally condensed nomological laws also produced a terrifying confrontation at this time. In this regard, Yi Shiwen fell into an obvious disadvantage. He was only at Transcendent Realm 5th level. Facing Crown Prince Crocodile, an invincible expert in Transcendent Realm 8th level, there was a significant gap. According to Yi Shiwen's understanding of martial arts, the entire cultivation journey was a process of comprehending the world and recreating the world. In the early stage, it was from innate to truth. After reaching truth, one began to slowly come into contact with laws. Then, one began to recognize laws and legend. Sage Realm began to condense laws. After reaching Great Sage, they condensed Great Sage laws. In fact, this was also interlinked. Whether it was the so-called domain or the so-called Holy Kingdom, they could be regarded as a world in essence. What were the basic components of this world? Earth, fire, water, wind, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth? No, in Yi Shiwen's view, it was the laws. It was the various laws that formed the current world. Various elements, earth, fire, water, wind, and the 5 elements were born on the basis of these laws. These laws were like the game code in the previous life. If the game rules stipulated that people could no longer walk past the cliff, then the game character would not be able to walk over it. These laws were actually these rules. Before the law manifestation realm, one would learn how to use these laws. However, at this time, it could only be used for combat. After reaching the law manifestation realm, one would use these programs to write the basic order and rules of a world. Therefore, these laws were the foundation for warriors. If the comprehension of the laws wasn't perfect, then they wouldn't be able to comprehend their own territory in the law manifestation realm. Compared to the transcendent realm, they would only be stronger. There was a quantitative change, but it didn't lead to a qualitative change. If he encountered some abnormal transcendent realm experts, he would have the ability to kill beyond his realm, including the Crown Prince Crocodile in front of him. If he cultivated to that level, he would definitely be able to kill the law manifestation experts who did not comprehend the domain. With Yi Mo's guidance, Yi Shiwen was very clear about the importance of these laws. His law's condensation was also 10 times, even dozens of times, or even hundreds of times more than ordinary warriors of the same level. He would not be at a disadvantage when facing the average Transcendent Realm 8th level warrior. However, Crown Prince Crocodile was naturally not an ordinary Transcendent Realm 8th level warrior. In this regard, Yi Shiwen was completely at a disadvantage. However, Yi Shiwen's physical body was stronger than Crown Prince Crocodile's. He also had the Phoenix Regeneration Technique, a healing technique. He could withstand Crown Prince Crocodile's blow, but Crown Prince Crocodile dared not exchange one for one with Yi Shiwen. For a while, the whole scene was still in a stalemate. Neither side had exerted their full strength because there were too many people around them who were ready to make a move. Whether it was the poisonous young master, the flaming young master, the demonic sea beasts, or the pair of sea demon clan siblings, they could pose a fatal threat to them. So, they dared not go all out. Otherwise, the consequences might be fatal. Just when the stalemate of the battle might continue, a huge streamer descended from the sky. It broke through the vast sky with irresistible force, smashing directly towards the place where the two were fighting. Facing the streamer with the momentum of 1,000 caddies, the two did not dare to be careless. They immediately leaped away. Boom! This streamer directly smashed on the ground with a terrifying loud noise. The earth shook, sand and stones flew. The smoke and dust dispersed. Everyone looked over, but it was a war chariot that fell firmly to the ground. This was a simple war chariot made of bronze. No one knew how many years of history it had. Just by looking at the entire body, there was a sense of vicissitudes of history. It might be a war chariot from 10,000 years ago or countless years ago. Everyone grew vigilant. The war chariots were no ordinary ritual artifacts. In ancient times, there had been battles between various races. War chariots were the mainstream among ritual artifacts. They were the cream of the crop, especially when hundreds of thousands or even millions of war chariots formed a torrent of steel in the sky. No one would be able to stop them. At that time, the life and death struggle between clans was the main theme. Therefore, war chariots used to be glorious at that time. Later, as the territories of various clans were relatively stable, the war chariot, a group of martial art instruments, gradually disappeared from the long river of history. Apart from some extremely ancient forces, there were very few methods to drive a war chariot, let alone a sacrificial method. The current war chariots were mostly left over from ancient times. Suddenly, a figure climbed out of the big pit in a slightly disheveled manner. It was a young man in a bright yellow robe. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He looked very handsome between his brows. At this time, he seemed to be in a somewhat disheveled state. Seeing that everyone was looking at him with some doubts, he immediately smiled brightly and said, "Sorry, car accident. I just got this thing, so I'm not proficient in controlling it yet." Suddenly, everyone felt a little nervous, and their faces were full of black lines. Who is this person? He's too stupid. Yes, this is the first time I've seen a situation where a martial art instrument is out of control. Suddenly, the experts of various clans who were unaware of the situation laughed, as if laughing at others could elevate themselves. The young man in the yellow robe did not respond to those people's sarcasm at all. He just smiled faintly and said, "I heard that there will be a rare treasure here, so I came. It seems that I'm not late yet. Brothers, you are quite early." His eyes were looking at the poisonous young Master Yin, and Crown Prince Crocodile. "Brother Pei, you are really elegant." At this time, Si Konghao took the lead to speak. This was the meaning of this sentence. It was inevitable that it was a little teasing. The young man in the yellow robe looked a little embarrassed. "Pei Xingqian, you really came?" At this time, Crown Prince Crocodile's words revealed the secret, and everyone suddenly went into an uproar. The person in front of them turned out to be the legendary Gai Yuan sect's top genius, Pei Xingqian. These people were the elites of various clans who had been in Chaos Demon Sea all year round. How could they not know Pei Xingqian's name? However, knowing this name and actually seeing him were two different things. Most importantly, they did not expect that the famous Pei Xingqian would appear in this way. He looked abnormally disheveled, completely subverting their original speculation about Pei Xingqian. Is this young man who looks disheveled really Pei Xingqian? In fact, if it weren't for Crown Prince Crocodile's words, no one would believe it in any case. Looking at the top experts of the younger generation, they seemed to know Pei Xingqian. They were not surprised by his arrival. The only thing that surprised them was the way he came. "Sigh, I can't help it. Those old guys have already arrived. They are all gathered in the innermost part of the seal. It is said that they are planning something extraordinary. I, like you, don't want to join in the fun." Pei Xingqian sighed, then grabbed the bronze chariot with both hands, pulling the chariot out of the soil bit by bit. It looked very strenuous. Many of the younger generation experts nodded one after another. During this time, many law manifestation realm experts came to the sealed site. Even many old guys who were thought to have passed away appeared one after another. Obviously, they had no way to resist the temptation of the things in this sealed site. These young experts were usually all-powerful existences that could move unhindered in a region. Their strength was naturally not weak. However, they had only cultivated for a short period of time. Compared to those old guys who had lived for thousands of years, they were still too young. Therefore, they had no right to speak in front of them. Even if there were any treasure sealed in it, It would belong to those half-step law manifestation realm, or even those old guys in the law manifestation realm. It would not be their turn. Therefore, these young experts had a tacit understanding to avoid direct competition with these old guys this time. Anyway, I don't have such big ambitions. I don't care what is sealed in this sealed site. Pei Xingqian finally pulled the bronze chariot out of the pit. Then he looked at the crowd and said, I saw someone fighting just now, so I drove a little faster. Why don't you fight? I'm still waiting to watch a good show. On the other hand, Yi Shiwen and Crown Prince Crocodile on the side were speechless. This Pei Xingqian was too unreliable. Even if they could have fought, it was impossible to fight after Pei Xingqian's disturbance. Yi Shiwen secretly sized up Pei Xingqian. Pei Xingqian could be considered as one of the young experts of the human race. In fact, he was second to none in the Gui Yuan sect, which was one of the three major forces of the human race. He stood at the top, although he had a harmless look on his face. But Yi Shiwen absolutely didn't believe that he was truly like what he was showing on the surface. Just that bronze war chariot of unknown grade wasn't something that an ordinary person could take out. This Pei Xingqian was by no means ordinary. Chapter 955. Crown Prince Crocodile snorted a little embarrassedly. At this time, Pei Xingqian intervened. How could they continue to fight like this? Everyone was afraid of being taken advantage of by them, and all the people present definitely had the strength to do so. Why don't you fight anymore? It's boring. At this time, Pei Xingqian looked regretful. Then he looked at Yi Shiwen and said, You are the same as unparalleled sword. You are not from our Flourish Cloud Sea region, right? Suddenly, everyone's heart shook. Many people had speculated about Yi Shiwen's origin. However, they could only speculate. They didn't have any clues. Even many people had mobilized their own forces to investigate Yi Shiwen's background. However, they still couldn't find Yi Shiwen's birth. It was as if he had suddenly jumped out from a crack in a stone. In particular, the Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan hated Yi Shiwen to the bone. However, they failed to find out Yi Shiwen's origin several times. Even the Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan, one of the overlords, failed to find out Yi Shiwen's background. It was conceivable that Yi Shiwen's origin was indeed mysterious. Pei Xingqian's words revealed the secret. Yi Shiwen just smiled and did not deny it, saying, Brother Pei is really insightful. AI, there are fewer and fewer young talents like him in our human clan. Pei Xingqian acted like a senior, which made people feel a little amused. Others didn't feel anything, but the human clan experts present had a change of expression. Although Brother Yi does not belong to the Flourish Cloud Sea region, he is also a human clan expert. If there is anything in the future, you can come to Gui Yuan's sect. Hearing Pei Xingqian said so, Crown Prince Crocodile's face suddenly fell. Crown Prince Crocodile had made it clear that he would take action against Yi Shiwen. He would not let Yi Shiwen live. Otherwise, it would be a huge blow to the Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan's reputation. However, Pei Xingqian's words were to shelter Yi Shiwen. This undoubtedly meant that he was going against the Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan. Pei Xingqian, what do you mean? Are you going against my Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan? Crown Prince Crocodile asked coldly. It's not a fight. I can't represent Gui Yuan sect, and you can't represent the Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan. So, don't put on a look of a life-and-death struggle. Pei Xingqian said with a faint smile. At least in this Flourished Cloud Sea region, it is not your sea clan's turn to cover the sky with one hand. You're courting death, Crown Prince Crocodile said coldly. It is said that you have just obtained an ancient inheritance. You are not the same as before. I would like to see how strong you are now. Crown Prince Crocodile's terrifying aura instantly locked on Pei Xingqian. It was even more terrifying than when he fought against Yi Shiwen just now. Pei Xingqian put away his playful expression and stared at Crown Prince Crocodile. He did not yield an inch. His aura surged like the vast sea. How dare you? A large number of Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan experts behind Crown Prince Crocodile also unleashed their aura, cooperating with Crown Prince Crocodile to crush Pei Xingqian. At this time, Yi Shiwen's body also ignited with raging flames. His imposing aura transformed into a fiery blade intention and joined in the confrontation. In any case, Pei Xingqian confronted Crown Prince Crocodile because of Yi Shiwen. How could Yi Shiwen let Pei Xingqian confront Crown Prince Crocodile alone? Everyone in the arena held their breath as they watched the confrontation between the two forces on the sidelines. If it was just Yi Shiwen alone, then there wouldn't be anything to be afraid of. However, everything was full of variables now that Pei Xingqian was involved. Two experts of this level were enough to change the outcome of a small-scale battle. No one knew. However, compared to the many nervous human clan experts, the experts of other forces were undoubtedly much more relaxed. They were all competitors on normal days. At this time, they even hoped for the two sides to fight fiercely. However, before the confrontation between the two sides could continue, the entire sky suddenly began to rumble loudly. Everyone's spirit was suddenly shocked. They all knew that the variable they were waiting for had finally arrived. It's here. The elders of our sect have calculated that a rare treasure will be born here. If it weren't for the fact that they are all in the center of the seal to seize the most important thing, we wouldn't have the chance to take action. A human race expert said, seemingly very nervous and excited. At this time, even Yi Shiwen, Pei Xingqian, and many vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan experts who were confronting each other did not care about the confrontation. They all stared fiercely at the midair. At this time, Yi Shiwen stepped forward, came to Pei Xingqian's side, and asked, "Brother Pei, I wonder what kind of rare treasure will be born this time?" Pei Xingqian did not turn his head, nor was he surprised. Since he had already guessed that Yi Shiwen was not from the Flourished Cloud Sea region, then everything was not surprising. Since Yi Shiwen was not from the Flourished Cloud Sea region, it was naturally impossible to be as well-informed as them. This time, the Devil Subduing Pagoda is a strange treasure that was used to suppress the devil race many years ago. It is said that this Devil Subduing Pagoda was the artifact of a god a long time ago. Later, in order to suppress the devil race, it was completely suppressed here. Now, after countless years, it is said that this devil-subduing pagoda is about to appear. Whoever can obtain this devil-subduing pagoda first will be able to obtain this legendary weapon of the god. Tell me, how could anyone not be excited? Pei Xingqian said lightly. Yi Shiwen sucked in a mouthful of cold air. It was a legendary divine tool of the gods. Just the name of the gods alone was enough to attract people's attention. Perhaps for others, the existence of gods was a big problem. But for Yi Shiwen, there was nothing to doubt at all. Because of Yi Mo's existence, Yi Shiwen knew that these gods had existed in the past. In fact, they had ruled over all living things in the world in the ancient times. Even the weakest gods could overturn rivers and seas. They could even grab the stars and the moon. In fact, they could blow up an entire planet with a casual punch. Therefore, it was hard to imagine how attractive this deity's martial art artifact was. It was no wonder that the entire Flourished Cloud Sea region was like boiling water. Countless experts were attracted at once. We only calculated that it might be born today. That's all, but it seems that it should be right, Pei Xingqian said with a smile. His eyes were still looking at the booming place in the sky. Obviously, he was also determined to get this demon-subduing pagoda. At this time, everyone immediately divided into several camps according to their respective clan identities. If it was just an ordinary martial instrument, it would be fine. However, this was the martial instrument of the legendary god. Its power and attractiveness could definitely make the experts in the entire Flourished Cloud Sea region crazy. In other words, even if the individual cultivators among them obtained this martial instrument, they would not be able to keep it. Only those major forces could obtain it and preserve it. Therefore, the major camps quickly began to follow the major overlord forces. Although these individual cultivators could not get this god's martial instrument, the major overlords who obtained this god's martial instrument would certainly not be stingy with the various rewards. For them, this trip was not in vain. On the human side, it was obvious that Gui Yuan's sect's Pei Xingqian was the leader. Among the others, only Si Konghao had a little ability to compete. As for Yi Shiwen, although his strength was not bad, no one really counted him as the final opponent. No matter how strong he was only in the transcendent realm. Once he obtained this demon-subduing pagoda, he would probably be hunted down by the law manifestation experts in the Flourish Cloud Sea region and even other sea regions. Yi Xuan would not be so unwise. Everyone understood it very well. In fact, Yi Xuan also understood this very well. It was not a big deal to offend Crown Prince Crocodile. As long as he wanted to leave, there would always be a place for him to stay. However, if he obtained this demon-subduing pagoda, then he might have no other way but to escape from the Flourish Cloud Sea region, seeing the treasure in front of him, but he could not get it. He was somewhat unwilling in his heart. In any case, he should act according to the situation. None of these people's strength could overwhelm him. Since they were confident that he could obtain it, then there must be a reason for it. When the time comes, he would just go in and act according to the situation. Just when everyone was so divided and had their own thoughts, there was a silent tearing sound in the sky, as if a piece of cloth was torn apart. A huge hole was torn in the entire sky, revealing the pocket world inside. Yi Xuan's expression was a little solemn. In this sealed land, it could be regarded as a subspace that was semi-independent from the ancient Baron's continent. He didn't expect that there would be another layer of subspace here. In the true martial domain, it was impossible to do so because the space there was too fragile. If it was superimposed, it might cause the entire world to collapse. However, this also proved how cautious the person who had placed the seal was. Rush in. If I can get this demon-subduing pagoda, you will all benefit. You can all become my generals. Scram. Why can you obtain this demon-suppressing pagoda? Why can't I obtain it? Get lost. All of you. This demon-subduing pagoda should be mine. At this time, the first to fall into internal strife was not the other clans, but the demonic sea beasts. Unlike other clans, they did not have many experts, but each of them was a top elite. No one could convince the masses. Everyone wanted to get the demon-subduing pagoda and dominate the world. Chapter 956. These demonic sea beasts were usually unconvinced with each other. They were all overlords of the ocean, and they would kill each other whenever they met. They were not allowed to pass through their territories, so the bad relationship between them could be imagined. Otherwise, they wouldn't have watched the silver-horned giant demonic beast die in Yi Xuan's hands. The demon-subduing tower had already triggered a dispute between these beasts before they even saw it. But at this time, no one was in the mood to continue watching the show. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the huge crack in midair. Almost in an instant, a gust of wind formed by spiritual energy blew over, making everyone feel refreshed. In this sealed place, there was almost demonic energy everywhere, so they had to maintain a protective aura at all times. The spiritual energy they used was accumulated by themselves, but when this wave of spiritual energy hit them in the face, it immediately made them feel refreshed. Whoosh! 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 Everyone didn't hesitate at all and directly flew into that huge crack. Yi Xuan's speed wasn't slow either, and he followed closely behind them and rushed in. Everyone rushed into the crack, and a huge flat land came into view. It was 100 miles wide, and in the middle of this flat land, a huge 7-story pagoda was shining, blooming with dazzling divine light. At the base of this pagoda, countless spiritual energy was constantly spewing out, filling the entire small world with spiritual energy. As no one had absorbed it for a long time, the spiritual energy here was almost liquefied. Around this demon-subduing tower, there were countless treasures. Yi Xuan glanced around, and he actually saw 4 or 5 ginsengs and ganoderma that were more than 10,000 years old. These were all rare in the outside world. In the true martial domain, there were very few treasures that could grow more than 10,000 years old. It could almost be said that they were rare. Generally speaking, it was considered rare for them to be more than 1,000 years old. But in this ancient Baron's continent, those that were more than 1,000 years old were very common. Those that were more than 10,000 years old were rare, and those that were more than 100,000 years old were rare treasures. Moreover, this expanse of treasures of the heavens and the earth was simply like entering the herb garden of the gods, and only then were they able to see medicinal herbs that were rarely seen. However, everyone was only slightly dazzled by the scene before them. Everyone immediately rushed towards the devil-suppressing pagoda. Compared to the devil-suppressing pagoda, these 1,000-year-old or even 10,000-year-old heavenly treasures could only be regarded as small profits. After all, these were heavenly treasures produced by the devil-suppressing pagoda. As long as they had the devil-suppressing pagoda, what did they have to fear? Let me tell you another piece of information. If you want to control the devil-subduing pagoda, then you must rush to the 7th floor. Pei Xingqian suddenly said to Yi Shiwen. Perhaps he was the only one here who didn't know about this. This made Yi Shiwen's impression of Pei Xingqian increase greatly. In addition, Pei Xingqian had gone against Crown Prince Crocodile because of Yi Shiwen. Such a friend was worth making. However, this was merely a reminder because everyone had already rushed into the devil-subduing pagoda. The one who bore the brunt of the charge was none other than Pei Xingqian. He drove the bronze chariot as if he had just returned from the battlefield. He took the lead and rushed into the devil-subduing pagoda with invincible momentum. Following closely behind him were the poisonous young master, flaming young master, Crown Prince Crocodile, the pair of demonic sea beast clan siblings, and so on. Behind them were the demonic sea beasts, Si Konghao, and others. Then, Yi Shi, Yi Xing, and others rushed in directly. Compared to the crowd rushing in, Yi Shiwen did not rush in directly. After everyone rushed in, Yi Shiwen began to sweep the heavenly treasures outside. These were all rare treasures in the outside world. 8,000-year-old Earth Spirit, 10,000-year-old Ginseng, 10,000-year-old Lingji. There were so many heavenly treasures here that Yi Shiwen's eyes were dazzled. Without hesitation, he directly opened Tianyuan Mirror and swiped these things in a Tianyuan Mirror one by one. However, when Yi Shiwen swiped on a ginseng, he found that even Tianyuan Mirror couldn't swipe this ginseng in a short time. Without waiting for Yi Shiwen to continue, this ginseng actually ran away, turning into a stream of light. It wanted to escape in midair. 100,000-year-old Ginseng King. Although Yi Shiwen had never seen a 100,000-year-old Ginseng King, but he was also very confident that he wouldn't be mistaken. Compared to all living things in the world, even dead things like zombies, it was very difficult for a plant spirit to transform into a cultivator and become a cultivator. Very few people could truly cultivate into a plant spirit. This 100,000-year-old Ginseng King obviously had considerable spiritual wisdom, but how could Yi Shiwen let it escape? He directly fixed it with a bloody light and chased it directly. Boom! When Yi Shiwen caught up, the Ginseng King's body bloomed with colorful divine light, shattering the entire bloody light instantly. But at this time, it was too late to escape again. Yi Shiwen had already caught up. Generally, ginseng more than 1,000 years old had begun to have a human shape, and ginseng more than 10,000 years old was almost similar to a human. As for the 100,000-year-old Ginseng King, it was absolutely identical to a human. Except for the roots under its feet, it was no different from a human appearance. This Ginseng King's 5 fingers clenched into a fist and suddenly blasted out an astonishing fist aura. This Ginseng King was clearly a commander, and it had unexpectedly comprehended a set of martial arts. A Ginseng King that could survive for more than 100,000-year-old could absolutely be regarded as a great fortune, and if it was allowed to continue to develop, its future would be limitless. These plant spirits, especially those with heavenly treasures, would find it very difficult to embark on the path of a cultivator. However, once they embark on the path of a cultivator, they could rely on their own accumulation of 100,000-year-old years to quickly break through to an extremely terrifying realm and become a top-notch expert. This Ginseng King had obviously reached such a critical point. It was really just a little bit away from comprehending martial arts on its own. But at this time, Yi Shiwen moved, and the flame in his hand transformed into a fiery long blade, which instantly broke through the vast sky and fiercely collided with the Ginseng King's fist aura. Bang! A terrifying power quickly swept out from the point of collision between these two people in all directions. Bang! This Ginseng King was directly sent flying, and it spouted a mouthful of golden blood. Then, it transformed into several thousand-year-old ginseng in the sky. Even the blood that this ginseng king had casually spouted was an extremely precious thing. This ginseng king's accumulation was profound, but after all, it hadn't truly transformed into a human form. So, it could only be said to have some spiritual wisdom, and it couldn't be compared to Yi Shiwen, who had already comprehended martial arts. Yi Shiwen stood tall in the sky and didn't move an inch. Yi Shiwen once again chased after that ginseng king in large strides when it was sent flying, and directly used the fire cloud's falling sky hand. It transformed into a big hand that seemed to cover the whole sky, and it instantly caught this ginseng king. This ginseng king frantically resisted and unceasingly bombarded Yi Shiwen's palm with martial arts. However, Yi Shiwen's tyrant body was extremely terrifying and firm, and these attacks simply didn't have the slightest effect on him. He directly tightened his palm and directly crushed the pitiful spiritual wisdom of the ginseng king. Then he stored it in the Tianyuan mirror. Yi Shiwen was immediately overjoyed. Just this 100,000-year-old ginseng king alone made this trip worthwhile. Although the other medicinal herbs were also very precious, and there were many precious medicinal herbs that were more than 10,000 years old, this 100,000-year-old ginseng king alone could match the value of all the other medicinal herbs. A medicinal herb that was more than 100,000 years old could be regarded as a rare treasure. This 100,000-year-old ginseng king was absolutely priceless in the outside world. As for the other treasures, any one of these medicinal herbs that were more than 10,000 years old alone was worth tens of millions of spirit crystals. All of these medicinal herbs were worth hundreds of millions of spirit crystals, and the ginseng king couldn't be bought even if one wanted to. It was a pity that EMO had fallen into a deep sleep at this time. He was in close cultivation to evolve Tianyuan Mirror into an advanced human-level martial instrument. During this time, Yi Shiwen could be said to have gained a lot, especially the Transcendent Realm 8th level peak troll and Silverhorn giant demonic beast. They provided sufficient nourishment for Tianyuan Mirror's advancement. Compared to other magic tools, Tianyuan Mirror, which had a glorious foundation in the past, could be said to have very few promotion conditions. If it was a magic blade, it would have to find a lot of corresponding materials and a corresponding sacrificial refining method to promote it. In short, it would not be easy to promote it. Unlike Tianyuan Mirror, it was not so much advancement as recovery. It was much simpler than advancing out of thin air. After looting all the treasures outside, Yi Shiwen didn't hesitate and directly rushed into the demon subduing tower. As soon as Yi Shiwen rushed into the demon subduing tower, he suddenly felt that the surrounding environment had changed instantly. He was in a high mountain, which looked abnormally familiar. Yi Shiwen's heart suddenly trembled. Isn't this Qingfeng Mountain Yiyuan sect? This was the place where he began his martial arts cultivation after transmigrating. No matter how long it had been, he would never forget it. Almost subconsciously, he recognized that this was Qingfeng Mountain Yiyuan sect. Some familiar figures gradually appeared in front of him. Father, mother, elder brother, second sister. Familiar figures leaped in front of him. Umph! Yi Shiwen snorted coldly. Qi rushed out of his body in an instant, like a vast ocean. Everything in front of him shattered in front of him, and then collapsed. This turned out to be an illusion. Chapter 9:57. Sure enough, when Yi Shiwen opened his eyes again, he found that he was still in the demon subduing tower. He suddenly broke out in cold sweat. His state of mind had already been cultivated to the point of being as firm as a rock. Ordinary illusions could not affect his state of mind at all, not to mention the Mingxin ancient tree shrouding his spiritual awareness at all times. Even in a battle of life and death, his state of mind would not fluctuate in the slightest. He would remain in the calmest state. However, someone had taken advantage of this and evoked his memories. If he did not react immediately, he might really fall deeper and deeper into the abyss. The consequences would be unimaginable. Sure enough, when Yi Shiwen opened his eyes, he saw dozens of Huanma's gigantic bodies laughing in a strange manner. These Huanma's bodies were pitch black, and their eyes were bloodshot. It seemed as if they were starving for food. Impossible. How could he get out of the illusion created by us so quickly? A Huanma said in horror. Huanma had always been a low-status clan in the demon domain. The only talent they had was to create illusions. Legend had it that the demon god of the Huanma clan could create illusions that could make the entire world fall into his illusion and kill each other. Although their ability to fight head-on was not too bad, compared with their famous ability to create illusions, it was indeed a little inferior. Sure enough, it was these Huanma. As early as when he was in Yuan sect, Yi Shiwen had a confrontation with these Huanma. However, those Huanma at that time were not comparable to these Huanma that were already above the transcendent realm. Any one of the Huanma here could be called a king in the true martial world. However, these Huanma were all suppressed in this demon subduing tower. They could not escape from this demon subduing tower at all. Yi Shiwen sneered. The skills of these Huanma were obviously not enough. Although they joined forces to create illusions, they could at most evoke the memories of his time in Yuan sect. As for more distant memories, it was the Earth era that was sealed at the bottom of Yi Shiwen's memory. Perhaps he would be grateful to them if they could successfully evoke the memories of his time on Earth. However, the time he had spent on Earth wasn't even 1/10 of his lifespan. His lifespan was almost 200 years now, but the time he spent on Earth wasn't even 1/10 of his lifespan. However, that period of time had always been the most untouchable place in his heart. The world he had lived in had directly shaped his current character and values. Yi Shiwen longed to see his parents, but he was afraid that one day he would go back and hear the bad news. Perhaps he could only treat it as a memory and occasionally think about it. If these Huanma could successfully evoke the memory of that period, then Yi Shiwen would really be grateful to them. Unfortunately, Yi Shiwen had hidden it too well. Even if they joined hands to arrange the illusion, they couldn't really make Yi Shiwen sink into it. Puchi! Yi Shiwen's fiery long saber instantly slashed out, directly splitting a huge Huanma in half. The blazing flame burned the body of the Huanma into ashes. The Huanma below the transcendent realm only had a spiritual body. They didn't have a physical body. However, after reaching the transcendent realm, these Huanma would condense their own body. Of course, they still couldn't be compared with those creatures that were born with a physical body. Their strength was their own illusion ability. Once they had a physical body, this aspect would be somewhat restrained. However, it was too late at this time. They had involuntarily rushed in front of Yi Shiwen. Their speed was too fast. Yi Shiwen's reaction speed was also much faster than they expected, so everything happened in a moment. For many people, these Huanma might be very difficult to deal with, because their illusion was too difficult to deal with. If they were not careful, they might fall into their trap. But for Yi Shiwen, it was nothing at all. With the protection of the Mingxin ancient tree, being pulled in for a moment was already the limit. For him, there was nothing easier to deal with. Yi Shiwen's saber slashed out, turning into flames all over the sky. The Huanma that rushed over were burned into a large piece of ashes on the spot. This time, the other Huanma in the vicinity didn't dare to approach. This person was even more terrifying than the group of people who just rushed over. Although those people were terrifying, they weren't like this person. Their illusions didn't seem to have any effect on this person at all. Even so many Huanma that joined hands to cast illusion couldn't make him fall. This was something they never expected. Although they had been suppressed by this demon-subduing tower for countless years, and even didn't know which generation of the original batch of demons were the descendants, they were not stupid at all. They knew that this person in front of them couldn't be provoked. He was an absolute killer. Yi Shiwen didn't continue to entangle on this issue. Although these Huanma were not powerful, the number was endless. God knew how long it would take to kill all the Huanma suppressed on this floor. This demon-subduing tower didn't seem to be very big from the outside, but it was a different world inside. Each floor was like a small world. Yi Shiwen didn't know how many Huanma were suppressed in it. It was simply impossible to kill all of them. Moreover, he had fallen behind those people. At this time, he didn't want to continue to waste time. Through analysis, he also knew that if he really took this demon-subduing tower, he would have no foothold in the flourished Cloud Sea region. If he reached it quietly, it could be used as a trump card. However, if it was in public, even if he obtained it, he would have no foothold. This was different from snatching Crown Prince Crocodile's demonic saber. At most, it would cause the hostility of the vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan. In the Flourish Cloud Sea region, there were still people willing to protect him. It was different from the time when he had seized the Emergence Immortal Exterminating Saber. Nobody knew that he had seized the Emergence Immortal Exterminating Saber at that time. This was the first reason. The second reason was that he had the backing of the True Martial University at that time. The True Martial University was once an overlord no matter how weak it was. But now, even the Gue Yuan sect, where Pei Xingqian was, would never go against the entire Flourish Cloud Sea region to protect him. However, the temptation of this demon-subduing tower was too great. Even Yi Shiwen couldn't help but be tempted. Even if he knew the danger, he had to try. If there was a chance, Yi Shiwen wouldn't hesitate to snatch it. At most, he would just leave. Anyway, he had no foundation in the Flourish Cloud Sea region. If it didn't work, he could return to the ancient Barrens continent. Now that he had the strength comparable to the Transcendent Realm 8th level peak, even if he crossed the entire Endless Sea region, it would be much safer than before. After all, Law Manifestation Sea beasts would not appear often. There was still hope if he was careful. Yi Shiwen, with the fiery long saber in his hand, quickly passed through the first floor guarded by countless phantom demons and advanced toward the entrance leading to the second floor. These phantom demons seemed to have received the news long ago. No one dared to stop Yi Shiwen's advancement. Yi Shiwen went to the second floor smoothly. As soon as he entered the second floor, he suddenly felt an astonishing aura piercing the vast sky and blasting directly at him. Yi Shiwen was not in a hurry. He raised his hand and blocked the aura on the spot. Dang! There was a sound of metal clashing. Yi Shiwen looked up and saw a dense group of demons glowing with black and yellow luster in the sky. They stared at Yi Shiwen with hostility. The muscles on these demons' bodies exuded a metallic luster. Each demon was more than 10 meters tall, like a war machine. When these black-yellow-colored devils saw Yi Shiwen, they suddenly rushed towards him. The entire floor was filled with the strange screams of these devils, and all of them rushed over at once. Yi Shiwen slashed with his saber. Dang! Yi Shiwen's fiery saber aura directly slashed on a demon that pounced on him, producing the sound of metal clashing. Sparks splashed everywhere. Yi Shiwen frowned slightly. Although he did not use his full strength in this slash, he used 30 to 40% of his strength. Don't underestimate this 30 to 40% of his strength. His tyrant body was overbearing. Needless to say, his strength was terrifying. With a slash, even a mountain would be split in half on the spot. There was no chance of survival at all. However, this slash of his had only managed to push back the demon instead of killing it. It could be seen that the physical strength of these demons was far more tyrannical than he had imagined. Of course, these weren't enough to pose a threat to him. Every time his strength increased by one level, his destructive power wouldn't just increase by one level. Instead, it would increase by several times. It could be said that Yi Shiwen's strength wasn't on the same level as Yi Shiwen's full strength. However, it still made him very surprised, especially when so many of them pounced on him at once. The threat was much greater than the previous Huanma. Those Huanma did not pose any threat to him, but these black and yellow demons could. Each of them had a yellow face and iron teeth. They looked ferocious. Yi Shiwen had never seen them before. If EMO was not in a deep sleep, he would definitely ask about the origin of these demons. However, these yellow and black demons provoked Yi Shiwen with his full strength. Naturally, they were not any better. They were killed on the spot. There was no way they could get close to Yi Shiwen. However, there were too many of these demons. Unlike the Huanma below, these yellow and black demons were not afraid of death. No matter how many of their heads were killed by Yi Shiwen, they did not retreat. Chapter 958. Compared with the phantasmal demons on the first floor, these black and yellow demons on the second floor were more fearless and terrifying. Yi Shiwen beheaded these demons while advancing toward the passage from the second floor to the third floor. Time flew by like a white steed. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. In a day, Yi Shiwen only slowly advanced less than one-third of the distance toward the passage from the second floor to the third floor. These demons had been suppressed in the demon-subduing tower for countless years. No one knew how many they had multiplied. They were densely packed everywhere. At this time, when they saw Yi Shiwen, they were like cats smelling blood. All of them rushed over, not giving Yi Shiwen any chance to catch his breath. If it were any other Transcendent Realm 5th level warrior, they would have been killed on the spot. It was impossible to survive. However, even for Yi Shiwen, it was extremely strenuous. Those who were trapped could naturally charge in groups. With a group of top experts such as Crown Prince Crocodile leading the way, the advancement speed was much faster than Yi Shiwen's. It could be said that they crushed all the way. When Yi Shiwen gradually approached the entrance from the second floor to the third floor, he saw a large number of corpses. It could be said to be piled up like a mountain. Those demons did not let Crown Prince Crocodile and the others go. Yi Shiwen even saw several corpses of Transcendent Realm 5th level and 6th level warriors. Several Transcendent Realm 5th level and 6th level experts had fallen on the second floor alone. It was conceivable that this demon-subduing tower was extremely dangerous. In just these 2 floors, there were already so many dangers. It was hard to imagine what kind of dangers there would be on the higher floors. However, Yi Shiwen was not in a hurry. Although these monsters could be said to be endless, but for Yi Shiwen, it was just right. He continued to behead these devils, and then a steady stream of blood essence was poured into Tianyuan Mirror. Yi Mo needed this blood essence to restore his strength to the high-level human level. Yi Shiwen even suspected that if he waited until he killed his way to the 7th floor, he might directly step into the peak human level. Half of the blood essence of these devils was absorbed by Tianyuan Mirror after they were beheaded. The remaining half was transformed into the purest energy by Tianyuan Mirror and absorbed by Yi Shiwen. That was because he didn't need to search for these devils. They would pounce on him in an endless stream, and his killing efficiency was much higher than before. Yi Shiwen felt that it was almost more effective than practicing outside for 10 days. His strength was also improving little by little, and it wasn't slow at all. It was precisely because of this that Yi Shiwen wasn't anxious at all. No matter what, strength was the most important thing. Since he was already having a hard time walking, then the others would definitely not be any better. Even if they formed a team, they would not be much faster than him. At the very least, they would not be able to reach the 7th floor in a short time, so he was not nervous at all. The Tianyuan Mirror on his body instantly flew out, and a blood-red ray of light swept out. Those black-yellow devils who were swept away by the light ray instantly burst into a mass of blood mist and were absorbed by the Tianyuan Mirror. Tianyuan Mirror absorbed these blood essence energy freely. Although each demon was not a lot, the number of these demons was extremely large, greatly making up for the lack of quality. Yi Shiwen was not to be outdone. The rippling mountain seal instantly condensed and instantly pressed down like a long dragon. Wherever it passed, the demons were instantly crushed into blood mist. Boom! 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 Yi Shiwen, who was going all out, could basically crush these black and yellow demons that seemed to be only at Transcendent Realm 3rd level or 4th level. These blood essences were undoubtedly very large for ordinary people. Unfortunately, they were Demon Clan's blood essence. Even if they obtained it, they would not dare to casually absorb it. They might have to resort to many methods such as alchemy. But for Yi Shiwen, it was nothing. He could directly absorb it on the spot. If it were an ordinary Transcendent Realm 5th level, Yi Shiwen would have already reached saturation and reached Transcendent Realm 5th level peak. However, Yi Shiwen was not an ordinary Transcendent Realm 5th level. Not only was his strength far superior to the average Transcendent Realm 5th level, but it was also 10 times or even 100 times more difficult to ascend to Transcendent Realm 6th level than the average person. Although Yi Shiwen continued to kill, these demons still pounced on him endlessly. Almost every time he killed a batch, another batch would appear beside him. It was as if there was no end to them. In the Chaos Demon Sea outside, Whether it was the demonic sea beasts or demonic sea beasts, they were basically fighting with the foreign humans and sea clans all year round, so their numbers had always been controlled within a relatively controllable range. It was also very difficult to accumulate a certain number. However, in this demon-subduing tower, no one knew how many years it had been since someone came here, so the number of demons was far more than he imagined. Swoosh! 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 With a sharp piercing sound, countless black and yellow demons rushed towards Yishiwen. They all used demon clan martial techniques and crushed towards Yishiwen. If it weren't for Yishiwen's fast speed, these demons would not be able to pose any fatal threat to him. Yishiwen would have been surrounded by 25 kilograms of demons by now. Rippling Mountain Seal, Yishiwen yelled. The rippling mountain seal swept down like a dragon sweeping out. It directly crushed the demon clan martial technique that blasted over, turning into a stream of light in midair. Swoosh! 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 Sharp sounds of something tearing through the air could be heard. Another wave of attacks came. These backstabs seemed to be endless. These strange beasts are actually advancing and retreating in a strict military formation. Wave after wave, there is no gap at all. Yishiwen frowned slightly and said, "These black and yellow demons originally did not have any organization. Basically, they came in batches, but just from the results of the fight just now, these demons suddenly began to form a formal organization, just like a soldier advancing and retreating in a proper manner. Then, there was only one possibility, that is, a commander-level demon had appeared, and it might even be their leader. The attacks of these demon clan martial techniques came in waves. Although they could not pose a fatal threat to Yishiwen, they were able to completely block him here, making it impossible for him to advance or retreat. This feeling made him extremely depressed. In such a situation, they had to first capture the leader of the bandits. As long as they killed the commander, everything would be easily solved. However, if they couldn't capture the leader of the bandits first, then they would have to slowly drag it out. Yishiwen's eyes were like torches, sweeping over those demons over and over again. But that demon seemed to be quite cunning, and Yishiwen could not see any flaws. Clang! The flaming long saber in his hand was instantly set ablaze and turned into a huge flaming dragon, smashing down. How terrifying was Yishiwen's all-out attack! In an instant, dozens of black and yellow demons were slashed by Yishiwen. Their flesh and blood were absorbed by Yishiwen, and half of them turned into energy, replenishing Yishiwen's body, making Yishiwen even more powerful. He simply rushed directly into these black and yellow demons, like a tiger rushing into a flock of sheep. Most people would be cautious in such a situation because they might be exhausted and they might be besieged to death. But for Yishiwen, such a problem did not exist at all. On the contrary, with the direction of his blade, a large number of demons were beheaded by him on the spot. After absorbing the blood essence, Yishiwen also became more and more powerful. The more powerful he became, the more convenient it would be to kill those demons. These might not seem very obvious, but after accumulating for a long time, it would be very impressive. Because of this, Yishiwen was not so anxious, waiting for his quantitative change to cause a qualitative change, and also slowly searching for the leader of this demon. These demons that were beheaded by him continuously replenished Yishiwen's consumption, forming a virtuous cycle. So for him, it was simply invincible. Boom! 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 Yishiwen was simply a large bulldozer, and wherever he went, all the fish monsters were blown up by Yishiwen. Yishiwen's gilded tyrant form was still tyrannical, and it was not difficult to directly blow up those demons. With his continuous killing, he became more and more powerful, and those black and yellow demons could not stop Yishiwen from approaching the second floor to the third floor. Although it was a bit slow, but he did not stop one step at a time, and could only watch helplessly as Yishiwen continued to behead these demons to reach the third floor. At this time, not far in front of Yishiwen, a group of 5 or 6 sea clan masters appeared. They formed a small team formation, and all the way to the second floor near the third floor with difficulty. Originally, they had set off a lot earlier than Yishiwen, and they even set off in a team, but now Yishiwen had caught up with them. At this time, they also heard the sounds of fighting behind them, and when they turned around to look, they were almost scared half to death. They saw Yi Shiwen waving the long flame blade, and all the way to not far behind them with irresistible force. Although Yi Shiwen's movement speed was not fast, it was absolutely irresistible. Not a single devil general was able to block his move. The only reason why his movement speed was so slow was because there were too many devils around him. At this time, they finally understood why the number of demons had suddenly decreased a lot recently. It turned out that they had gone to surround Yi Shiwen. What was irresistible force? This was it. Chapter 959. Compared with Yi Shiwen's speed, they were ashamed to death. It took a while for a few people to kill one demon beast. After falling behind the main force, they were already completely behind the team. Without the cover of the main force, it was impossible for them to catch up. Their strength was very average, only at Transcendent Realm 5th level. It was already very difficult to face the endless demon beasts on the 2nd floor, let alone continue to face the demon beasts on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th floors. At this time, they were already regretting their decision. They did not regret coming in, but regretted why they fell behind and were left behind by the main force. At this time, seeing Yi Shiwen rushing all the way, their eyes suddenly lit up. With Yi Shiwen's leadership and their assistance, they would soon be able to catch up with the main force in front. After all, they did not really fall too far behind the main force to the extent that they could not catch up. They were like an arrow, now lacking an arrowhead, and Yi Shiwen was the arrowhead. But having the arrowhead alone was not enough. The arrowhead needed the arrowhead to shoot far and accurately. Yi Shiwen, take us with you. We can definitely help you. At this time, a Sea Clan expert hurriedly shouted. But Yi Shiwen didn't seem to hear it at all. He walked directly past them. Raleigh ignored their yelling. Of course, Yi Shiwen heard it, but even if he heard it, he didn't want to pay attention to these people at all. These were all Sea Clan experts. Previously, Yi Shiwen noticed that Lass and the others were very close to Crown Prince Crocodile. At this time, it was good enough that he didn't make a move on them. It was impossible to rescue them. Without any hesitation, Yi Shiwen walked directly towards the path from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor, which was close at hand. Yi Shiwen, the other side saw that Yi Shiwen didn't even look at them and directly walked past them. Suddenly, they were seething with anger. They never thought that Yi Shiwen wouldn't help them. In fact, they even felt a bit proud. They didn't ask for help from Yi Shiwen. They were simply mutually beneficial. Yi Shiwen could quickly catch up with the main force with their strength. Without them, Yi Shiwen's speed would also be slowed down. By the time Yi Shiwen arrived, it would be too late. What else was there to wait for? But they never expected that Yi Shiwen had no interest in them at all, nor did he intend to take them with him. Suddenly, VC race experts were so angry that they cursed out loud. Their hearts were suddenly filled with fear. They were not like Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen's physical strength in Jin Yuan could be said to be inexhaustible. The more devils he killed, the more vigorous his physical strength became. It could be said that he was always in peak condition, but they didn't have such ability. Not to mention that Yi Shiwen's combat power was already comparable to Transcendent Realm 8th peak. Yi Shiwen's combat power was like chopping melons and vegetables. Previously, they were able to persist because the previous large army had already cleaned up a wave of demons for them. Later, Yi Shiwen's appearance attracted a large number of demons, which allowed them to barely hold on. But if Yi Shiwen left, the demons without opponents would do next. There was no need to ask. It could be said that if Yi Shiwen left, they would really be dead. Yi Shiwen sneered. He was indifferent to their cries. He continued to swing his saber toward the intersection between the 2nd floor and the 3rd floor. Just as Yi Shiwen was about to reach the entrance from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor, a low roar came from a distance. The voice was low, but it was extremely powerful. Every syllable of the roar was like a heavy blow to Yi Shiwen's chest. This didn't seem to be a big deal, but Yi Shiwen knew that there were some powerful experts who could kill a person just by walking. They could completely disturb a person's heartbeat with their unique footsteps. One step could make a person vomit blood, and another step could seriously injure a person. This was the so-called technique to the extreme. Even without using any strength, it could severely injure others. Generally speaking, this was also very difficult to achieve because they often did not do it on purpose. The real great mediums could be accompanied by Tao principles with every move. It was a natural power. Although Yi Shiwen's heartbeat was disturbed, it was only for a moment. He was not surprised, but happy instead. Finally, you are willing to come out? I thought you will continue to hide. Yi Shiwen sneered because he had already guessed that the person who had come was none other than a devil general who was leading these devils. He was also their commander. Seeing that Yi Shiwen was about to reach the entrance from the second floor to the third floor, if he still did not come out, he would not be able to stop Yi Shiwen. At this time, the experts of the oceanic species also felt a strong sense of oppression. It was far stronger than the oppression of these demons. They were all experienced figures. How could they not know that this was most likely the appearance of the Demon King on this floor? He did not dare to stop the large group when they rushed over because Crown Prince Crocodile and others were in the large group. Judging from the aggressive appearance, it would be courting death if he came out. However, Yi Shiwen was alone. Thinking of this, these Sea Clan warriors not only did not take pleasure in Yi Shiwen's misfortune, but on the contrary, their faces suddenly turned ashen. This was because they knew very well that if Yi Shiwen died, then they would not be far from death. How could the demon general who eliminated Yi Shiwen let them go? Just a single roar was enough to make them feel like they were no match for this terrifying pressure. While everyone was still lost in their thoughts, the figure of a demonic creature finally appeared in the sky. It was a demon general with a pair of fleshy wings on its back, and a body covered in yellow-black scales appeared in front of everyone. This demon general exuded a terrifying aura. He stared at Yi Shiwen coldly, like a death god from hell. "You are great!" That devil general looked at Yi Shiwen and took the initiative to speak. "I have been suppressed here for so many years, and you are the first batch of people to break in. Moreover, you are the most distinctive one among them. Your flesh and blood is so powerful that even I can't help but be moved. Now, I will give you a choice. If you are willing to surrender to me, you will become one of my generals. Apart from me, you will be second only to me and above tens of thousands of people." Those Sea Clan warriors were suddenly dumbfounded. What was Yi Shiwen's background? Even a devil general wanted to accept him as a subordinate and didn't choose to kill him directly. Everyone looked at Yi Shiwen, waiting to see how he would choose. Yi Shiwen smiled slightly and said, "How can a sparrow know the ambition of a swan? In this small place, even if I am the king and the ancestor, so what? Not to mention that I want to be your subordinate. Am I that kind of person? Young man, you'd better think about it. You won't be my opponent. Although you have shown good strength, you are definitely not my opponent." This devil general suddenly released a burst of terrifying aura, firmly locked Yi Shiwen, and poured over in torrents with the momentum of toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. This demon general had definitely reached the Transcendent Realm 8th level peak, and had faintly stepped into the Transcendent Realm 9th level. He was only a step away. He was stronger than Crown Prince Crocodile and others. However, if Yi Shiwen judged Yi Shiwen's strength based on the strength he had just displayed, then it would be a big mistake. "How do you know that is my true strength just now?" Yi Shiwen said with a slight smile. His fair skin was instantly covered with countless golden divinities, shining brightly like a golden god, looking down on the world. Seeing that Yi Shiwen's aura suddenly rose by a notch, even this demon general was a little surprised, saying, "I didn't expect that. I still underestimated you. But since you were stubborn, then don't blame me. When I kill you and absorb your blood essence, I can completely step into Transcendent Realm 9th level and dominate a region. Even with your body, I still have hope to get out of this damn demon-subduing tower and dominate the world." Yi Shiwen could feel the horror of the demon general in front of him. He had been trapped here for countless years and cultivated for thousands of years. Naturally, his strength would not be comparable to Crown Prince Crocodile, Poisonous Young Master, Flaming Young Master, and others. Hence, his strength was a notch higher than them. If it weren't for the suppression of this demon-subduing tower, suppressing his cultivation and preventing him from improving, he would have already stepped into Transcendent Realm 9th level, or even Law Manifestation Realm. Even so, the accumulation of thousands of years was not ordinary. Without any hesitation, Yi Shiwen attacked directly. The flaming saber in his hand suddenly burned, turning into a sky full of flames, and fell in front of the demon general. Facing such a powerful demonic creature, Yi Shiwen did not dare to make a move directly. He rushed to attack before the demon general, but this time, he did not use Tianyuan Mirror. He planned to fight the strong enemy alone. If he used Tianyuan Mirror to suppress this demon general, it would inevitably affect Yi Mo's advancement. It was just a Transcendent Realm 8th level demonic creature. There was no need to disturb Yi Mo from his close cultivation. At this moment, the demon general also made a move. He directly grabbed with his sharp claws, tearing the vast sky. Chapter 960. The demon general's sharp claws burst the air in an instant. The speed was extremely fast. His sharp claws were also attached with extremely powerful martial arts. It was murderous and fierce, as if he wanted to crush everything in the world with a single claw. The claw reached Yi Shiwen's fiery saber aura directly. Boom! His sharp claws and the fiery saber aura collided fiercely. A terrifying explosion came directly from above, and then it swept out in circles. This was the first time the two sides went all out. The shock wave directly sent the surrounding demons flying on the spot. Those Sea Clan warriors also looked at Yi Shiwen at this time, a little dumbfounded. At this time, they really knew how terrifying Yi Shiwen's strength was. It was no wonder that he had turned a blind eye to their opinions. He could have easily walked out of this place even without them. These ordinary devils weren't qualified to stop him. In fact, they couldn't stop him at all. In fact, they wouldn't even be able to stop him if he used his full strength. No wonder Yi Shiwen still looked like he was at ease. He was really powerful. In particular, a few Sea Clan warriors had a lingering feeling of fear at this time. They originally planned to use Yi Shiwen as a tool, and then kill him at the right time. They were close to Crown Prince Crocodile. Naturally, they knew that Crown Prince Crocodile hated Yi Shiwen to the bone. If they could return with Yi Shiwen's head, they would be rewarded handsomely. Although they were also from the big clans among the Sea Clans, there was still a big gap compared with the Overlord Behemoth like the vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan. If they could rely on Crown Prince Crocodile, it would be beneficial for them and their clans. But at this time, seeing Yi Shiwen's performance, they suddenly broke into a cold sweat. If their plan succeeded, and Yi Shiwen was deceived by them, then they would probably die now. At this time, they couldn't help but look at each other, smiling bitterly. At this time, they finally understood why Crown Prince Crocodile hated Yi Shiwen, but he seemed to have no way to deal with Yi Shiwen, allowing Yi Shiwen to be arrogant until now. That devil general suddenly felt as if a flame was burning along his arm. He immediately circulated his vigorous devil yuan to suppress this flame. However, his arm was still slightly numb. This was caused by Yi Shiwen's forceful shaking. He was somewhat shocked in his heart. He had thought that Yi Shiwen's body was intrepid, and his vitality was exuberant. However, he hadn't expected that he would be so intrepid that even he was slightly numb. He immediately circulated his devil aura and restored his arm to normal. Looks like I've underestimated you. The demon general didn't seem to mind. He waved his arm and seemed to be in awe. However, his eyes were filled with killing intent. Cold killing intent gushed out like two sharp sword lights. He waved his hand and suddenly summoned a trident. The entire trident was like a huge demonic dragon. It soared into the sky and pounced towards Yi Shiwen. Its mighty body seemed to wrap Yi Shiwen inside and then devour him in one fell swoop. I think you've overestimated yourself? Yi Shiwen sneered. He instantly slashed his saber again. Raging flames burned the sky. The saber chi became bigger and bigger. It was like a mountain that pressed down horizontally. This devil general didn't show any weakness. A huge amount of devil yuan condensed all over his body and covered the entire trident. The entire trident blossomed with a dazzling light in an instant. It seemed as if it had instantly covered the sky. Boom! The collision this time was even more terrifying than the previous one. It was as if two peerless godly weapons had collided in midair, bringing with them an unparalleled aura as they fiercely crashed into each other. Two terrifying auras that couldn't accommodate each other swallowed each other in midair, and then spread out in all directions with a loud bang. It was as if a small universe had exploded, and in an instant, it spread out in all directions. You're only SSO. Choosing not to rely on me will be the biggest mistake of your life. At this time, that devil general suddenly sneered. He saw that Yi Shiwen's offensive seemed to have weakened a lot. Is that so? Let's see how this move goes. As soon as his voice fell, another cold voice came from not far away. The owner of this voice was none other than Yi Shiwen. He held the fiery saber chi in his hand. He instantly lifted it up and slashed at that devil general again. If he was hit, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Roar! 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 At this time, a kind of fear of death finally flashed in the devil general's eyes. He let out an earth-shattering roar. He didn't expect that Yi Shiwen would be so difficult to deal with. Such a terrifying saber was enough to cut him in half and kill him. Or rather, he didn't expect Yi Shiwen's actions. Yi Shiwen's actions were a bit faster than he had imagined. However, he wasn't a person who would sit still and wait for death. His body suddenly swelled up. Countless demonic yuan was stimulated in an instant and condensed on the surface of his body, forming a very hard shell. Most of the demonic yuan in his body was drawn out in an instant. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to resist Yi Shiwen's attack. But now that things had come to this, he couldn't care so much. Although it might cause him to run out of demonic yuan, it was still better than being killed on the spot by Yi Shiwen. Boom! Yi Shiwen's fiery saber chi directly hit the devil general's body. It directly hit the hard shell that was condensed from countless demonic yuan. Bang! He was blasted away on the spot. In midair, the hard shell that was condensed from countless demonic yuan disintegrated in the air. It scattered in all directions and turned into nothingness. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of green blood. His face suddenly turned pale. He had directly suffered serious injuries. Fortunately, the layer of Gang Chi blocked most of the damage for him, allowing him to escape. Yi Shiwen didn't care. He just looked at the devil general coldly. The devil general suddenly opened his bloody mouth and produced an unparalleled suction force. Hundreds of yellow-black devils around him were immediately attracted by him. Then, they directly exploded in the air and turned into a mass of blood essence, which was then absorbed by the devil general. With the absorption of this blood essence, the devil general's complexion clearly improved. The demonic yuan that had originally been exhausted was also completely replenished in an instant. His face was as calm as water. He stared coldly at Yi Shiwen. It was this person who made him suffer such a big loss. He even almost died. His previous desire to take Yi Shiwen as a slave was immediately replaced by the desire to kill him. Damn it, you lowly human. How dare you hurt the honorable me? The devil general kept roaring, as if he wanted to swallow Yi Shiwen alive. The trident in his hand instantly revolved, sweeping up a terrifying hurricane. The entire body of the trident was like a rotating dragon. It instantly roared towards Yi Shiwen. It was even more tyrannical than before. This time, he attacked with all his strength. He would never let Yi Shiwen go easily. A sinister smile flashed on his face. Just now, Yi Shiwen's sneak attack was only an accident. Now he would not easily show mercy. So, go to hell! The devil general roared. His face was unusually sinister. I'll finish you off with one slash, Yi Shiwen said indifferently. Facing the devil general who was fiercely pouncing towards him, his mood did not fluctuate at all. He slowly pulled out the devil saber from behind him. In an instant, the devil saber blossomed with dazzling devil light. Then, countless demonic chi soared into the sky. In this environment, the devil saber was simply like a fish in water. Clang! Accompanied by the sound of countless devil lights, a huge dazzling saber light instantly swept out. This saber light instantly slashed through the heaven and earth. The entire space was plunged into a sea of fire. It was as if the sea of fire could burn through the heaven and earth. An earth-level magic tool. The Devil General suddenly stared with his eyes wide open. He never expected that Yi Shiwen would actually have such an earth-level magic tool. It was completely beyond his expectations. Even he did not dare to casually receive the power of an earth-level magic tool. The trident dragon that he had blasted out was also split in half by Yi Shiwen's saber light in an instant. Although his offensive was broken by Yi Shiwen like a hot knife through butter, he also bought enough time to avoid this terrifying saber light. Boom! Wherever the saber light passed, it directly dragged out a huge crack that was thousands of meters long. The nearby devils were instantly beheaded, and an uninhabited area was forcibly cleared out. He was suddenly abnormally angry. Obviously, his realm and strength were much stronger than Yi Shiwen's, but in the actual battle, he fell into a disadvantageous position. Especially at the beginning. He did not expect Yi Shiwen to have such a terrifying speed. He was almost cut down by Yi Shiwen at the beginning of the battle. Now, Yi Shiwen even wielded a devil saber, an earth-level magic tool, a magic tool that could completely cut him down. This earth-level magic tool was just a dream. He did not dare to think of owning it at all unless he had the opportunity to enter the law manifestation realm. Only then would he have the ability to refine it himself. This made him very depressed. He had fought for many years and was able to stand out from many devils to become a devil general. He had always been invincible. In the face of any enemy, he would advance bravely. However, he did not expect to suffer a great loss from Yi Shiwen. He did not dare to approach him at all. At this time, the people of the Sea Clan were already staring at the scene in front of them in a daze. That fierce devil general was actually completely suppressed by Yi Shiwen. It was simply shocking. Chapter 961. It seemed that Yi Shiwen was the terrifying, ferocious beast in the human world. There was a world of difference between Yi Shiwen with the devil blade in his hand and Yi Shiwen without the devil blade in his hand. An earth-level divine tool, even in the absence of its master, still possessed considerable power. Not to mention, under Yi Shiwen's control, it had simply turned into a murderous weapon, ready to devour people. Yi Shiwen's combat prowess was already superior. After obtaining the demonic saber, his combat prowess suddenly soared by several levels. Yi Shiwen held this demonic saber in his hand. He could feel that this demonic saber was trying to affect his mind, just like the emergence immortal exterminating saber. However, compared with the terrifying influence of the emergence immortal exterminating saber, this demonic saber's immature spirit was crushed. It could only be regarded as waves of attacks on Yi Shiwen's mind, trying to influence Yi Shiwen and make him fall into the demonic path. This was the unique characteristic of most demonic artifacts. It could make people fall into the demonic path, but Yi Shiwen didn't care. The demonic saber in his hand once again swept up a raging flame. Although this demonic saber consumed much less than the emergence immortal exterminating saber, the earth-level martial instrument itself was a martial instrument for the law manifestation realm. It was not easy for Yi Shiwen to activate this demonic saber with his transcendent realm 5th level cultivation. Not to mention, it was a demonic artifact used in the demon domain. It was far more difficult than the average earth-level martial instrument. It was precisely because he couldn't fight for a long time that Yi Shiwen decided to end the battle quickly. He wanted to behead this demon general as soon as possible. The demon general still looked at Yi Shiwen with lingering fear at this time. He was almost beheaded by Yi Shiwen's crazy saber just now. At this time, Yi Shiwen pounced on him again. The demon general suddenly let out a strange cry and quickly flew back. The saber just now had displayed the power of this demonic saber incisively. How would he dare to test the saber with his body? At this time, he naturally had to turn around and escape. I don't believe that you can use this earth-rank magic tool indefinitely. The day you run out of true essence will be the day you die. The demon general roared in a low voice as he flew. It was obvious that he was extremely dissatisfied. Yi Shiwen, who was in hot pursuit, sneered when he heard the demon general's words. "It is true that I can't control this blade indefinitely, but I can still cut you down before that." Yi Shiwen's devil wings were extremely fast. Even if he didn't spread his wings, his speed still suppressed the devil general by a notch. He slowly caught up with the devil general. "This is the end!" Yi Shiwen shouted loudly, and the devil blade in his hand instantly chopped out a terrifying blade light, which tore through the vast sky and chopped down on the body of the devil general. The devil general simply didn't have enough time to react and was directly torn apart by the long blade. The terrifying machi of the long blade tore apart his body on the spot and burned his blood essence. Then the Tianyuan mirror directly swept into it. Most of the blood essence was transformed into the essence that Yi Shiwen needed. Yi Shiwen's cultivation was also rising little by little, becoming more and more terrifying little by little. The several sea race people suddenly looked at Yi Shiwen in the sky like a devil god. They couldn't believe that the devil general was dead. That was the devil general that they were most afraid of, because before this, they had actually felt the aura of the devil general had appeared, and what they were most afraid of was the devil general's sudden attack. If it was only these devil generals, they might still have a chance to save them, but once the real devil general attacked, then they would really die, and it would be impossible for them to survive. But the devil general, who was regarded as the most terrifying big boss, actually died in the hands of Yi Shiwen. Was this counted as being saved? No matter how shocked they were in the end, Yi Shiwen didn't mean to care about them at all. He could feel that this power was pouring into his body, slowly flowing. He operated the observing person scripture while flying towards the passage from the second floor to the third floor, completely ignoring the people of the sea race. Those devil generals didn't dare to stop him this time. The reason why they were so fearless before was largely because of the devil general's command behind them. Now that there was no devil general constantly commanding them, these devil generals were finally afraid of Yi Shiwen. After all, Yi Shiwen was a person who could even kill the devil general who ruled them. And after Yi Shiwen left, those devil generals who couldn't calm down quickly pointed their spears at the people of the sea race and pounced on them. Even though these sea race experts were considered to have high cultivation and were much stronger than these devil generals, when they encountered endless devil generals, they could only scream and be swallowed alive by these devil generals. They didn't have Yi Shiwen's strength to resist them. Inside the demon-subduing tower, in the 5th floor, this was a world of hurricanes. Hurricanes could be seen everywhere, rushing straight into the sky. In these hurricanes, there were many hidden wind attribute devil generals. They screamed strangely as they formed armies and kingdoms. In the hurricanes, it was their world. Yi Shiwen calmly walked in the hurricanes one after another. Whenever a hurricane approached him, the fiery saber aura on his body would automatically rise in an instant and then slashed out horizontally. These devil generals in these hurricanes screamed endlessly, and in the end, they were directly slashed by Yi Shiwen and then absorbed. But this absorption was not absorbed by Yi Shiwen's body, but by the second layer of his demon wings, the storm wings. It had been a long time since his demon wings evolved into the tempest wings. The lightning wings had been cultivated to the great perfection realm. The only thing left was the wind wings. But the last time he cultivated the lightning wings to great perfection, there was some element of luck. It was not so easy to cultivate the wind wings to great perfection. After all, it was difficult to find a place full of wind elements. But in this demon-subduing tower's 5th floor, it was such an environment. For others, these devil generals in these hurricanes could be said to be impossible to guard against. It was very difficult to deal with them, but for Yi Shiwen, it was just right. He could use it to condense his wind wings. In a blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. In 3 months, Yi Shiwen had only reached the 5th floor. He gradually caught up with the main force. In addition to the top experts such as Crown Prince Crocodile, the first group had only just reached the 5th floor. Compared to the 1st and 2nd floors, the 3rd and 4th floors were more difficult to deal with. After entering the 3rd floor, Yi Shiwen could be said to be unable to move an inch. It took him a full 2 months to reach the 4th floor from the 3rd floor. In the 4th floor, Yi Shiwen spent less time. There was no other reason. It was because his cultivation had improved. He had just entered the Transcendent Realm 5th level and reached the Transcendent Realm 5th level peak. Compared to before, he was more than twice as powerful. He was only a little bit away from entering the Transcendent Realm 6th level. Coupled with his demonic saber, he could truly be said to be invincible. Therefore, he spent less time than he did on the 3rd level. He only spent a month's time. This was the benefit of strength improvement. Although it was only from the Transcendent Realm 5th level to the Transcendent Realm 5th level peak, the improvement in strength was significant. It could be said that Yi Shiwen's current strength was incomparable to when he first entered this place. These wind demons on the 5th floor were simply the best for Yi Shiwen. Because of this, Yi Shiwen decided to stay here until the wings of wind cultivation was cultivated to perfection. If he could cultivate the wings of wind to the great perfection state, even if he did not obtain the demon's subduing pagoda this time, it would be a great harvest for him. Even the wings of wind was more important to him than a demon subduing pagoda. Yi Shiwen, if you can also cultivate the wings of wind to the great perfection, you will be able to truly transform the power of wind and thunder. Your speed will be faster than before. At that time, unless the opponent is much stronger than you, they will be suppressed by your speed. In the world of martial arts, only speed is unbeatable. You should understand this principle. Yimo's voice appeared in Yi Shiwen's mind. After 3 months, Yimo finally exited the day before yesterday. He had broken through to the advanced human-level Tianyuan mirror, and it was more tyrannical than before. Under Yimo's control, the Tianyuan mirror was not like an ordinary martial instrument that was sacrificially refined. Instead, it was constantly cultivating. Because of Yimo's control, the Tianyuan mirror could even independently suppress a Transcendent Realm 8th level super expert. If it could be promoted to the peak human level, then it would be invincible under the law manifestation realm. For Yi Shiwen, it would also become a very good helper. If one day in the future, Yimo could transcend the form of a tool spirit and cultivate into a human form, it would be even more amazing. Yi Shiwen nodded. The Devil Wings was one of the rare God-level power techniques in his possession. If he could master any one of them, then he would possess earth-shattering might. Especially, the Devil Wings were one of the foundations of his survival. If he didn't have the Devil Wings, then he would have already died many times. If the Wings of Wind could be cultivated to the great perfection, his strength would also take a huge leap. Thinking of this, Yi Shiwen raised his spirits. The flames in his hands burned. He rushed straight into a nearby demon army in a nearby hurricane and slaughtered them. Chapter 962. Another month passed by like a white steed flashing through a crevice. Yi Shiwen had already spread his fame in the entire 5th layer. Many wind devils in the hurricane had already come to know that a demon had arrived in the 5th layer. Most importantly, Yi Shiwen was different from the previous people. The previous Crown Prince Crocodile and others had a simple goal, which was the 7th floor. Hence, they did not want to stay on the 5th floor for a long time. In this 5th floor, they did not even stay for 10 days, and they had entered the 6th floor. Therefore, this wasn't a big deal. However, Yi Shiwen had never directly slaughtered these wind demons with the purpose of doing so. Yi Shiwen wasn't the only one left on the 5th floor. There were a large number of warriors who had been left behind by the first group. At this time, they really couldn't advance or retreat. Whether they should advance or retreat, it wasn't a simple matter for them now. After falling behind the first group, they lacked a spearhead. Just like the previous Sea Creature Clan warriors, they were also trapped in a quagmire. Of course, their strength was much higher than those Sea Creature Clan experts. The overall situation was much better. At least they could persist until now. They also noticed Yi Shiwen's performance. Some of them also wanted to join Yi Shiwen's team. There was no doubt that Yi Shiwen, with absolute tyrannical strength, was absolutely qualified to be the spearhead among them, leading them all the way up. Moreover, Yi Shiwen's killing could be described as a one-sided massacre. He was simply invincible wherever he went. However, the strange thing was that he didn't seem to be trying to enter the 7th floor. Instead, he seemed to be tempering himself. Every time he beheaded a wind devil, he seemed to become a little stronger. Although it was only a little, it had accumulated over the course of an entire month, and it had become extraordinarily impressive. If Yi Shiwen wanted to go to the 6th floor, he could have done it half a month ago. This was because he was alone, so his speed was certainly not comparable to those experts who went in teams. But even so, it was very fast. However, seeing that Yi Shiwen did not intend to join them at all, everyone soon lost interest. Moreover, their relationship with Yi Shiwen was definitely not good. Puff! Yi Shiwen killed a wind demon that pounced on him with one slash. His entire body stopped moving as if he was thinking about something. The surrounding wind demons did not dare to make any more movements. Compared with the fearless demons on the 2nd floor, these wind demons were undoubtedly much more cunning. In other words, in the past month or so, Yi Shiwen had killed so many of them that they were afraid of him. After all, not everyone could be as invincible as Yi Shiwen. They could not even find an expert comparable to this ominous star in front of them. Initially, when Yi Shiwen first came up, they were still excited. They regarded Yi Shiwen as a juicy meat. If they could occupy Yi Shiwen's body, then they could leave this damn demon subdual tower. As demons born in this demon subdual demon clan, they were born with this demon subdual. It was impossible to leave this demon subdual tower for generations. The only way was to occupy another body in order to leave. Of course, to give up one's own body. Even if one could succeed, the price to pay was not small. At this time, the better the body, the greater the future achievements and potential. Compared with others, Yi Shiwen's vitality was far more vigorous than ordinary people. Naturally, he was their first choice. It was a pity that Yi Shiwen was not as easy to deal with as they thought, but a super ominous star. In the past month, no one could count how many wind demons had died in Yi Shiwen's hands. But this ominous star did not seem to be satisfied at all. He continued to kill wind demons, but compared to him, these wind demons had no power to fight back at all. This was the most depressing thing for them so far. Finally, perhaps because of Yi Shiwen's arrogant behavior, the demon general among the wind demons could not help but show up. However, the devil general on the 5th floor wasn't one of those devils. Instead, it was a devil beast, a wind devil violent ape. A loud roar resounded. Yi Shiwen was immediately awakened by this loud roar, even though he was far away from the source of it. This was a demon beast that was more tyrannical than the demon general that Yi Shiwen had seen before. Because of this tyrannical strength, it also became the master of the 5th floor. In terms of strength, it seemed to be more tyrannical than the demon general that Yi Shiwen encountered on the 2nd floor. In fact, after Yi Shiwen stepped into the demon subdual tower, except for the 1st floor, there was a demon general guarding each floor. Except for the 1st floor where there was no demon general at all, the other 3 floors were guarded by demon generals, but they all fell in Yi Shiwen's hands in the end. Yi Shiwen was simply a demon general killer. The demon generals on the 1st floor did not appear at all. Apparently, they realized that their illusions were useless against Yi Shiwen. After their most powerful illusions failed in front of Yi Shiwen, their chances of winning against Yi Shiwen were almost zero. Although they were demons, they were not fools. At this time, they knew that there was no chance of winning. Naturally, they would not continue to stop Yi Shiwen. Hence, Yi Shiwen was invincible on the 1st floor. Those Huan Ma did not dare to stop him at all. In the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors, Yi Shiwen also encountered those demon generals one after another. These demon generals did not dare to stop Crown Prince Crocodile when they crossed the border. But seeing Yi Shiwen alone, they had no scruples. They naturally rushed up directly. The demon generals on the 5th floor finally began to make a move. Yi Shiwen looked over and saw that it was a 2-meter-tall wind demon violent ape. Compared to those magical beasts that were easily like small hills, this wind demon violent ape didn't seem to have such a huge figure. However, it gave Yi Shiwen a kind of terrifying, oppressive feeling that other demons didn't have. His body was surrounded by circles of wind and clouds, and he held a wind staff in his hand. His face was ferocious, and his whole body was covered with long black hair. He looked like a black humanoid monster. His body was also rippling with thick Jin Yuan. The Jin Yuan was so rich that it was frightening. Not far away, some warriors who landed on the 5th floor were scared to death when they saw this scene. The demon general on the 5th floor had just appeared. It's amazing. What is this thing? This aura is not worse than Crown Prince Crocodile. It's terrifying. What is suppressed in this demon subduing tower? Someone said in shock. What's so strange about this? This demon subduing tower suppresses the entire sealed land. Legend has it that a prominent figure in the demon clan had fallen here. Suppressing these transcendent realm demon clan isn't a big deal. These aren't the demon clan that was suppressed here in the past. They might just be their bloodline after countless generations. Otherwise, in terms of strength, they wouldn't be so weak. This may be the devil general of the 5th floor. When the poisonous young master and the others first came here, they also said that there is an incomparably terrifying devil general hidden here. Although they have many people, they don't want to provoke this devil general. I didn't expect that we would encounter it now. Hiss, let's hurry up. Otherwise, when this devil general kills Yi Shiwen, the bottom will be ours. One of them suddenly thought of something and said in horror. If it was just an ordinary devil, they wouldn't be so anxious. However, this was the legendary devil general that guarded the 5th floor. Although it was a wind devil violent ape, it didn't make any difference to them. It was still so terrifying. That's right. That's right. Do you think we can still escape now? At this time, a warrior next to him said very gloomily. Looking at the wind demons slowly surrounding them, they immediately dispelled all plans to break out of here. There were only 2 outcomes for them. Either Yi Shiwen beheaded this wine demon violent ape, then the wind demons under the command of the demon general could only collapse. Or, if Yi Shiwen was killed, they would soon follow Yi Shiwen's footsteps and be beheaded. So at this time, even if many people disliked Yi Shiwen, they were also praying for Yi Shiwen in their hearts. At this time, he must not lose. Otherwise, they would all be finished. At this moment, the wind demon violent ape pointed its wind rod at Yi Shiwen and said, "Human, I've tolerated you for a long time. You've harmed my people here. However, I'm a big-hearted general. If you leave now, I'll let you live. I won't do anything to you. Otherwise, today will be the day you die." Big belly? Yi Shiwen sneered as if he had heard the most unbelievable thing. Don't think that I don't know that your divine sense has been probing my information for a long time. It has been wandering in the dark for a long time. You probably want to kill me for a long time. If it wasn't for the fact that you are not my opponent, or that you don't have the confidence to defeat me, I'm afraid you would have already pounced on me at this time. Why are you still saying such hypocritical words now? It turned out that Yi Shiwen had long discovered that this wind demon violent ape had been secretly spying on Yi Shiwen a long time ago. It was probably secretly evaluating Yi Shiwen's strength. Later, it probably realized that it was not Yi Shiwen's opponent, so it quietly retreated and did not dare to show itself. Therefore, Yi Shiwen was not unfamiliar with it at all. Chapter 963. All of this was in Yi Shiwen's eyes. At that time, Yi Shiwen didn't want to continue entangling with it, and he was too lazy to chase after it. He had been trying to figure out how to achieve the Wind Wings realm. For him, this was the most important thing. As for this wind demon violent ape, it was completely outside of his plan. Hence, he was not surprised at the existence of this wind demon violent ape. What he didn't expect was that the wind demon violent ape that seemed to be scared away by Yi Shiwen actually came back at this time. At this time, the wind demon violent ape was also depressed. It had been secretly observing Yi Shiwen's strength. After passing through the 2nd floor, 3rd floor, and 4th floor, Yi Shiwen's strength had already improved tremendously. He had already stepped into the Transcendent Realm 5th level peak. This powerful strength made the wind demon violent ape fearful. Hence, for the sake of safety, it still chose not to come out and fight Yi Shiwen. It was not worthwhile. It was not what it wanted to put itself in danger for a mere human. It was just that it didn't expect that Yi Shiwen was still here after a month. Moreover, he had no intention of leaving at all. At this time, it suddenly became anxious. If it continued to kill like this, its entire force would suffer a great loss. Moreover, if Yi Shiwen continued to kill like this and he did not show up, then his entire prestige as a devil general would be destroyed. At that time, people's hearts would be stirred. He was still commanding these devils with ulterior motives. He must take advantage of the situation before it became serious to the point of no return and behead Yi Shiwen. In fact, those demon generals on the second floor, third floor, and fourth floor might also have this idea. They were forced out by Yi Shiwen. Of course, to a large extent, it was their greed for Yi Shiwen's physical body that drove them to come out of the darkness. In the end, they all lost their lives in Yi Shiwen's hands. Kill me? Yi Shiwen sneered. The devil generals of the lower floors also said so, but none of them could do it. In the end, they all died under my blade. Originally, I didn't want to look for trouble with you. If you didn't appear, then you were lucky. Since you have appeared, then don't blame me for being impolite. Killing intent flickered in Yi Shiwen's eyes, and the imposing aura on his body surged. Because at this moment, Yi Mo reminded him in his mind, Yi Shiwen, you haven't been able to master your wind wings previously because you lacked an opportunity. You didn't have an absolutely tyrannical wind demon for you to absorb. This wind demon violent ape is an extremely good opportunity for you. This wind demon violent ape is born from a hurricane in the devil world. It hasn't even reached adulthood yet. An adult wind demon violent ape is an extremely tyrannical existence even in the devil world. If you can absorb the wind core in its body, your wind wings will definitely reach perfection. Yes, Yi Shiwen had been cultivating on the 5th floor for more than a month. He didn't know how many wind devils he had killed, but his wings of the wind had always been in a state close to perfection. However, there was no way for it to reach perfection. He had been looking for the reason. After killing so many wind demons, he had already absorbed enough wind power. However, there was no way for his wind wings to reach perfection. This made him extremely distressed. However, Yimo's words immediately made him understand. Now that he had accumulated enough wind power, what he lacked was a real qualitative change. The point that could cause a qualitative change was something that other wind demons couldn't provide. If Yi Shiwen were to look for it himself, he didn't know when he would be able to cultivate to perfection. However, this wind demon violent ape in front of him had provided him with another opportunity, a miracle that could allow his wind wings to reach perfection. This wind demon violent ape had condensed a wind core in its body. There was pure wind power inside it. Although it was also mixed with demonic energy, the demon wings itself was a magical power of the demon race. The demonic energy wouldn't affect the wind wings. Instead, it would even allow him to improve to the next level. There was nothing better. Yi Shiwen originally didn't want to entangle with this wind demon violent ape. He was wholeheartedly pouncing on how to improve his wind wings. However, this wind demon violent ape actually took the initiative to come to him and wanted to kill him. This had already triggered the killing intent in his heart. Moreover, Yi Mo had already reminded him, so he was even more determined. Kid, you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. You're courting death. This wind demon berserk ape was instantly enraged. What kind of character was he? When had he ever been spoken to in such a manner? He had always been the one running amok. He couldn't even remember clearly how many years it had been since he was last talked back to by someone. It had been a very, very long time since he had experienced such a feeling after becoming a devil general of the 5th floor. The wind rod in his hand suddenly danced, and an impressive wind was generated. This rod itself was condensed from countless wind elements. Although it wasn't a magic tool, it was much more powerful than an ordinary magic tool in his hands. This was because he had integrated his own understanding of the wind elements into it. Only then could such a situation be formed. In the blink of an eye, he instantly made his move. The wind elements in his body instantly rotated violently. He looked like a hurricane from afar, and he was the son of wind within the hurricane. As a member of the wind demon violent ape clan, he was born to be able to control those wind elements. Those wind elements were like family to him. In this place that was full of wind elements and demonic energy, he was like a fish in water. His strength had also skyrocketed. He was very powerful. At this time, the wind rod in his hand had already blasted in front of Yi Shiwen's face with a terrifying hurricane. Although it was just a staff, it gave off a domineering feeling similar to the way of the saber. As the staff came down, it crushed the void and shattered everything in all directions. Countless amounts of air completely collapsed in an instant. The terrifying staff had already descended. At this time, Yi Shiwen's movements weren't slow either. Since he had already shed all pretense of cordiality with this monkey, how could Yi Shiwen not have any defense at this time? Suddenly, countless flames appeared in his hands. He raised one hand directly and waved out a sky full of calamities. He took a wind rod and smashed it down. Clang! There was a loud sound of metal colliding. Although it was a collision between fire elements and wind elements, and neither of them had physical objects, the two of them had used a special technique to glue together into a magic tool. At this time, it was as if they had met their nemesis, and they collided fiercely with each other. At this time, Yi Shiwen took a small step back and then slashed down again. He didn't pull out the demonic blade behind him. Although he had a way to control it, it was better to use the demonic blade less. Moreover, using the demonic blade too many times would be somewhat inconsistent with Yi Shiwen's martial arts that didn't rely on external objects. At this time, it was best to fight with his bare hands. Yi Shiwen's second slash was fast and urgent. It was almost an instant counterattack which caught the wind demon violent ape off guard. As a child born in the astral winds, the wind demon violent ape often had the ability to manipulate these wind elements like a magic tool. For them, this was not a difficult thing at all. The wind element was sharp. The wind element itself was very sharp, and its speed was extremely fast. The speed of the wind demon violent ape, who was born with the wind attribute ability, naturally wouldn't be bad. Its speed was also very fast, and it reacted almost immediately. It swept out with its rod, wanting to hit Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen immediately changed the direction of his blade and smashed it against the rod. The two finally started fighting, and it immediately attracted the attention of the other warriors around them. Even the demons were watching to see who would win, because Yi Shiwen's strength was too strong. If Yi Shiwen won, then they wouldn't even be able to escape because Yi Shiwen's strength was too strong. The outcome was almost obvious. But on the contrary, if the wind demon violent ape won, then the situation would be completely different. These human and sea race warriors would also be in danger because they had lost Yi Shiwen's unintentional protection. But looking at the scene of the fight, the battle between Yi Shiwen and the wind demon violent ape could be described as a turbulent storm. The fighting styles of both sides seemed to be very similar. There weren't too many fancy movements, and there was only that kind of hearty feeling of fists hitting flesh. Both sides attacked with speed, which was their strong point, and once they attacked, it was a series of dazzling attacks. The wind demon violent ape was a son of wind born in the wind. Needless to say, its speed was simply fast. But how could Yi Shiwen be ordinary? Although he didn't have the talent of this wind demon violent ape, and it was impossible for him to be born in the wind, he had the mysterious space. As long as the spiritual energy between heaven and earth still existed, he could continue to cultivate. His demon wings also allowed him to surpass others in terms of speed, and as his cultivation increased, his speed became even faster. One was an innate son of wind, and the other was an acquired master of wind. At this moment, both of them erupted with terrifying speed. In terms of speed, both sides were naturally not ordinary people. Their physical bodies were also an important reason why both sides were evenly matched. Originally, the wind demon violent ape thought that its physical body had already been cultivated to an extremely terrifying level after being baptized in the wind day and night. But it didn't expect that in terms of physical body, Yi Shiwen also had a body and ambition that far surpassed ordinary people, and most importantly, its realm was much higher than Yi Shiwen's. In other words, if Yi Shiwen was in the same realm as it was afraid that it would be killed on the spot. Chapter 964. This was something that it absolutely could not tolerate. Although it was a demon beast, it also had its own pride a pride that did not lose to anyone. Even if the opponent was Yi Shiwen, it was still the same. Sweeping rod. This wind demon berserk ape waved the wind rod in its hand, and the wind rod expanded wildly in the sky. Countless power of wind burst out from it, and rod radiance danced everywhere. In midair, it interweaved into a large net and shrouded Yi Shiwen. Crackle crackles. The sky was filled with the sound of the air being smashed and splashed, and countless rod auras shrouded down. This wind demon berserk ape had been immersed in rod techniques for God knows how many years. When it made a move, it had the feeling of smashing the world. In terms of rod techniques, Yi Shiwen had never seen an expert that was more powerful than this wind demon berserk ape. Once it made a move, it made people completely terrified. Among the few demon generals, this strength was also unique. If Yi Shiwen, who had just stepped into the demon-subduing tower, encountered this wind demon berserk ape directly, he would probably also suffer a great loss. But now that a few months had passed, Yi Shiwen's strength was no longer the same as before. Boom! 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 The air in the sky was smashed, and with the momentum of Mount Tai, it smashed towards Yi Shiwen. And at this time, Yi Shiwen made his move. Clang! A violent saber radiance shot out from his hand and rushed straight to the sky. The saber radiance instantly seemed to cut the sky into two halves and turned into a sea of fire that covered the sky, slashing horizontally against the rod radiance that covered the sky. There was no fancy, just like all of Yi Shiwen's moves. Although it was simple, it contained great power. With a saber in hand, the world is mine. The saber aura broke through the sky, and in an instant, the rod radiance that was smashing down was slashed and extinguished by the saber aura, as if it was made of tofu. Boom! A terrifying loud sound rang out, and the power of wind and fire collapsed in the sky and tangled together in midair. The surrounding wind demon and warriors of various races avoided, not daring to approach. Just the aftermath of the battle could kill them. Originally, it should have been the wind that aided the fire. However, this wind and fire were like water and fire. They collided fiercely in midair. After that, the wind demon berserk ape had already pounced over. Its speed was extremely fast, as if it was riding on the power of the wind. Almost in an instant, it immediately caught up. Yi Shiwen was not to be outdone. The flaming blade in his hand also seemed to be able to split the heaven and earth as he welcomed the attack head-on. Boom! 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 Both of them had already exchanged thousands of moves in midair. However, Yi Shiwen still had the upper hand. Slowly, the entire situation was under Yi Shiwen's control. The warriors of various races were a little shocked when they saw this scene. How did it turn out like this? Although they also admitted that Yi Shiwen was strong, Yi Shiwen's strength had exceeded their expectations. Any demon general on each floor could be compared with Crown Prince Crocodile, Poisonous Young Master, Flaming Young Master, and others. Yi Shiwen could gain the upper hand in the battle with this demon general. Didn't it mean that he was not only on par with Crown Prince Crocodile and others, but he could suppress them? Thinking of this, some people were suddenly horrified because some of them were still on good terms with Crown Prince Crocodile. At this time, seeing Yi Shiwen's strength, how could they not be horrified? If Yi Shiwen had such strength, Crown Prince Crocodile might not have the confidence to win. However, they didn't know that Yi Shiwen had basically killed a bloody path in the second, third, and fourth floors to reach here. The devil generals of the second, third, and fourth floors had all been slaughtered by Yi Shiwen. Otherwise, how could he have reached here? But the others didn't know that. So when they saw this scene, they were deeply shocked. Just when Yi Shiwen planned to increase his strength and behead this wind demon ape on the spot, he saw a hurricane in the distance instantly rising into the sky, rushing toward Yi Shiwen. It was actually another demon general, and its terrifying aura was not inferior to the wind demon ape from before. The only difference was that this was a true demon and not a magical beast. The pair of fleshy wings flapping behind him were somewhat similar to Yi Shiwen's demon wings. In the hurricane, the speed was extremely fast, and it rushed over in an instant. It was another wind attribute demon, and it pounced over in an instant. Yishuan finally understood. No wonder this wine demon violent ape dared to come out after spying on him previously and retreating after realizing that it was not strong enough. It turned out that it had a helper, and the helper's strength was not inferior to its own. That was why it had the confidence to trouble him. "You're finally here," the wind demon violent ape said while panting. If this demon had come a little later, it might really have been killed by Yishuan on the spot, although they had already exchanged over 1,000 moves just now. In reality, even it could see that Yishuan was just testing it, or rather, testing where its bottom line was. And its bottom line had basically been tested. Under such circumstances, if it still did not make a move, then it would really be a big problem. "Kid, I gave you a chance just now. Since you did not cherish it, then go to hell." At this moment, this wind demon violent ape suddenly became excited when it saw that its companions had finally arrived. Its eyes were filled with greed as it looked at Yishuan. In order to leave this damned place, it had already exhausted all of its strength. However, it didn't want to be replaced by a warrior without the slightest bit of potential. Of course, the most important reason was that it had finally reached an agreement with its old rival. No matter what, it had to take down Yishuan first. "You are too self-righteous. Now it's your turn to die." The wind demon violent ape suddenly laughed coldly. As the lord of this place, it was a great shame for it to be forced into such a sorry state by Yishuan. Yishuan immediately became serious, and a serious expression flashed across his face. If it was only this wine demon violent ape, he wouldn't take it to heart. Just as this wine demon violent ape thought, he was just testing the waters before. He, who had already killed a few devil generals before, would no longer panic when facing an opponent of this level. But when facing 2 demon generals of this level, he still had to be careful. However, it was just a cautious response. It was not enough to make him panic. He once had to escape in front of Crown Prince Crocodile to survive. Now he had disappeared. Even facing the current Crown Prince Crocodile, Yishuan was not afraid at all. "It turns out that 2 people ambushed me. No wonder, no wonder. There are 2 demon generals on this level." Yishuan sneered. "But if you think you can kill me just like that, then it will be a big joke." Before the voice fell, Yishuan had already rushed in front of the wind demon violent ape. The flame turned into a long saber and slashed down instantly. Damn it! This wind demon violent ape was shocked and angry. He did not expect Yishuan to take the lead. He immediately waved his wind rod and swept out. Boom! 2 astonishing auras rubbed against each other in the sky, resulting in a terrifying collision. Endless waves of air swept out like layers of waves. Wherever it passed, many demons who could not dodge in time were blown away on the spot. But at this time, that devil general had already taken the initiative to attack. A pitch-black spear appeared in his hand, and it burst forth with a startling divine radiance. It instantly turned into a spear light and pounced towards Yishuan. Although he and this wind demon violent ape had been opponents for many years, it was precisely because of this that they understood each other better. The timing of the attack was just right. The moment the wind demon violent ape was suppressed, he made a move. Dang! There was a loud sound of gold and iron colliding. Yishuan suppressed the wind demon violent ape's long saber and slashed horizontally, blocking this fatal spear. The tip of the spear was only 3 inches away from Yishuan's face. The terrifying wind blew Yishuan's clothes. "If you sell it later, I will die." The wind demon violent ape glanced at the demon general hatefully at this time, although he also knew in his heart that the demon general could not wait for him to die earlier. This matter also depended on the situation. If he died at this time, then Yishuan would definitely not let the demon general go. If they really fight, Yishuan wants to fight 2 demon generals alone. What should we do? Suddenly, some warriors were worried about Yishuan. Yeah, I believe that he can deal with 1, but I don't believe that he can deal with 2. Any one of them is at the level of Crown Prince Crocodile, Poisonous Young Master, and others. Now there are 2 of them. Yi Shiwen is dead this time. Everyone saw that these three people were ruthlessly attacking Yi Shiwen from the very beginning, and suddenly turned pale with fright. Although Yi Shiwen had not fallen into a disadvantageous position on the battlefield, but for them, it was only a matter of time before Yi Shiwen fell into a disadvantageous position. And once he fell into a disadvantageous position, then this battle could be said to have come to an early end, and there would be nothing left to see. However, Yi Shiwen's ability to fight until now had exceeded many people's expectations. It was conceivable that once he returned to the outside world, Yi Shiwen would inevitably become famous because of these battles. It was not just because he offended Crown Prince Crocodile. At this moment, the wind demon Violent Ape, which had just repelled the demon general's long spear, could no longer take a break. It waved its wind rod directly and smashed down directly. The entire world seemed to be destroyed in this rod. Chapter 965. The attacks of the wind demon Violent Ape fell down like a storm, airtight, and did not give Yi Shiwen any chance to catch his breath. He was very clear that his strength was insufficient to suppress Yi Shiwen, and the strength of his old rival could at most be considered to be on par with him. There was not much difference between them, and he did not possess the strength to completely suppress Yi Shiwen. If he could not kill Yi Shiwen with continuous attacks, the situation would gradually become disadvantageous for them if they continued to fight. The thousands of exchanges just now had already made him understand a principle. This human in front of him was not only vigorous, his physical strength was also frighteningly long. After exchanging over 1,000 moves, he was already gasping for breath. He had consumed too much of his physical strength and demonic essence. However, the man in front of him didn't seem to be panting at all. It was as if these battles didn't affect him at all. This was the most frightening thing about him, as well as the most difficult to deal with. It was tantamount to them facing an indestructible Iron Man. Therefore, the conventional tactic of two people attacking him together and exhausting him to death was obviously no longer working. He was even thinking that if they really used this tactic, would they be the ones who would be exhausted to death first? This was also very likely. Since the will tactic was not reliable, then there was only one way, and that was to attack Yi Shiwen face to face and knock him down. And most importantly, if the two of them joined forces and still could not kill Yi Shiwen, then they would be too ashamed to face others. Boom! The demon general's spear pierced through the sky, and a terrifying aura firmly locked onto Yi Shiwen, as if a demon god had come to earth. Yi Shiwen felt as if he was being stared at by a ferocious, prehistoric giant beast, making him shudder. As if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting, waves of air flew out, like rolling clouds, rushing straight towards Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen just let his whole body be immersed in burning flames. With him as the center, the raging flames instantly burned out. As soon as the demons got close to the flames, they were instantly burned to ashes. Clang! The long saber and the long spear collided in midair. The demon general's spear was like a tidal wave, continuously stabbing over. On the other side, the wind demon berserk ape also attacked with its staff. One focused on tyranny, while the other focused on speed. The combination of the two created a terrifying might. Although the two of them were opponents who had been at odds for thousands of years, it was also because of this that they understood each other better. Their attacks were actually incomparably well coordinated. In the face of their attacks, Yi Shiwen remained calm and composed. His blade intention was like a sharp edge. Wherever it passed, heaven and earth were split open. No matter what kind of terrifying moves they used, they were all broken. It was just a simple slash, but it had the terrifying power to turn something rotten into something magical. The battle had been going on until now. The Devil Generals and the Wind Devil Violent Ape had frequently used all kinds of martial arts techniques. The battle looked exceptionally gorgeous, and they were completely suppressing Yi Shiwen. As for Yi Shiwen, he was like a small boat under their stormy attacks. He could capsize at any time. However, in this seemingly perilous situation, Yi Shiwen didn't fall. His saber technique began to gradually become concise. The original fancy saber techniques were instantly abandoned by him, leaving only the simplest basic saber techniques. However, in his hands, the simplest saber techniques really turned something rotten into something magical. He could turn a simple saber technique into a wood-burning saber technique in an instant. He could easily switch between them, coming and going freely. He's actually fighting one against two, and he doesn't seem to be at a disadvantage. Among the younger generation, how many can stand shoulder to shoulder with him? Among the warriors of various races, there were people who were extremely shocked. Another powerhouse of the human race has risen. Such a person shouldn't appear among the human race. He will only be obliterated. Someone said unwillingly. In the ancient Barrens continent, the human race wasn't that powerful. Hence, they were even more unwilling. Yi Shiwen's strong performance had completely surpassed the young experts of their race. At this time, the human race warriors, regardless of which force they were from, looked at Yi Shiwen with surprise and joy. There were fewer and fewer heroes like him in the human race. The long saber in Yi Shiwen's hand slashed out saber intent again and again. The fluctuations of the nomological laws of fire were faintly visible. Yi Shiwen slowly revealed his trump card. When the wood-burning saber technique was executed to the extreme, it would inevitably come into contact with the nomological laws of fire. This was one of the most overbearing nomological laws. Apart from the nomological laws of time and space, chaos and yin and yang, the nomological laws of fire were above the majority of the nomological laws. To a large extent, the achievements of a warrior were related to the nomological laws he controlled and the Tao he controlled. The more powerful the Tao, the more powerful he would be. Some people chose to transform their bodies into the Tao, some chose to integrate into the Tao, and some chose to worship under the Tao. All of them could possess extremely powerful strength. However, Yi Shiwen didn't choose any of them. He was controlling the Tao and was above the Tao and nomological laws. Hence, he didn't have these nomological laws or the Tao to enhance his strength. However, the fierceness of this Tao of control had finally begun to emerge little by little. His realm had become increasingly profound, and everyone's path had become increasingly narrow. However, his path of controlling the Tao of control had become wider and wider. One day, his accumulation and foundation would transform into a world-shaking brilliance. And amaze the world with a single brilliant feat, every slash would turn into a sea of flames that rolled over. This was the suppression of the most ruthless saber intent and the competition of the concepts. Clang! Boom! At this time, facing the increasingly powerful Yi Shiwen, the demon general and the Gale demon berserk ape exerted their full strength. They used all kinds of trump cards, especially the Gale demon berserk ape. The wind rod in its hand smashed out with an aura that could destroy the world. As for the demon general, he thrust out a supreme spear light. Yi Shiwen's hair fluttered wildly in the gale. The long saber in his hand slashed across the vast sky with a terrifying saber light, colliding with the opponent's spear and rod. Boom! 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 The aftermath of the attacks from both sides could sweep everything, sweeping across the mountain peak. Within 100 miles, no demons or warriors of various clans dared to approach. The battle between the two sides finally began to reach a white-hot stage. Everyone was dazzled. They didn't expect to see such a battle. Compared to the experts of the same realm, these three people were tyrannical. Even if Crown Prince Crocodile and the others made a move, they would only be at this level. This was a rare opportunity. If they missed it, they might not have such an opportunity again. Many people began to feel enlightened on the spot. Their original accumulation was already deep enough. What they lacked was an opportunity, and such a terrifying battle was their opportunity. This kind of battle was profound enough for them. In fact, because of the battle between the three of them, the entire fifth floor fell into a strange silence. No one continued to fight, and everyone's gazes were focused on this place. Dang! Yi Shiwen's saber slashed on the long spear of the demon general. The terrifying power rippled out instantly. Even a mountain peak would be flattened in an instant. This devil general retreated several steps and coughed out a mouthful of blood. When the tyrant body went all out, it was terrifyingly powerful. If one fought against him, one could only use a realm higher than him to crush him. Fighting against him on the spot was like fighting against a human-shaped dragon. At this moment, another wind demon berserk ape had already pounced. The wind rod grew bigger and bigger. It smashed down as if it was sweeping across the world. It seemed to take advantage of the moment Yi Shiwen made his move to smash the possible flaw. Go to hell! Go to hell! Go to hell! The face of this wind demon berserk ape flickered with a crazy look. It was a proud demonic beast. Yi Shiwen forced it into a disadvantageous position even after teaming up with its old opponent. A trace of fear for Yi Shiwen emerged in its heart. Yi Shiwen was like an unbeatable opponent. Time passed by minute. Every minute and second destroyed some of its confidence. At this time, it had gone crazy. It didn't know which transcendent realm 5th level could be so strong. This did not seem like the potential that a human should have. Even the direct descendants of the legendary gods could not have such potential. This was something impossible. Everyone's potential was limited. The more talented one was, the more potential one had. However, Yi Shiwen seemed to have infinite potential. For Transcendent Realm 5th level to force him to this point, it was simply shocking. The more afraid he was, the more he wanted to strangle Yi Shiwen in the cradle. He couldn't allow Yi Shiwen to slaughter the demon general. Otherwise, he would be next. However, Yi Shiwen only revealed a sneer on his face. The wind rod of the wind demon berserk ape directly smashed into his body. His figure also disappeared completely in the collapsed air. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the wind demon berserk ape. A brilliant saber light burned the endless void, directly slashing towards the wind demon berserk ape. Yi Shiwen's speed was too fast. He almost teleported in front of the wind demon berserk ape. This wind demon berserk ape had no time to react. Puff! This wind demon violent ape was split into two halves on the spot. Its eyes were still filled with a look of disbelief, because it finally realized that Yi Shiwen had been pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger when it was on the brink of death. If it knew that Yi Shiwen's explosive speed was so terrifying, it would not have been unprepared. It would not have been so easily killed by Yi Shiwen. Everything before was to pave the way for this moment. What a ruthless heart! What a shrewd mind! At this moment, the demon general made a decision almost instantly. Without any hesitation, he turned around and fled without hesitation. But would Yi Shiwen give him this opportunity? He took a big stride and chased after him. A saber aura transformed into a sea of flames, slashing down. Chapter 966. Pucci. The demon general died in Yi Shiwen's hands without being able to retaliate. Its body was split open on the spot, and fresh blood splattered into the sky. Everyone looked at Yi Shiwen in a daze. They were a little dumbfounded. They looked at Yi Shiwen in a daze, just like how the wind demon berserk ape only understood before it died. They were not stupid. At this time, they finally understood that Yi Shiwen was actually pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. It was not that they had never seen people pretending to be pigs to eat tigers. On the contrary, they had seen many of them. However, there were often people who were much weaker than them, pretending to be pigs to eat tigers. However, Yi Shiwen was pretending to be a pig to eat tigers against an expert of the same level. Most importantly, these were two terrifying experts of the same level. If it were any of them, it would be impossible to do it. They could only gasp in amazement. Because if one wanted to pretend to be a pig to eat tigers, one must have the strength to do so. If one was not careful, one might be completely killed. At that time, not to mention pretending to be a pig to eat tigers, one would really be a pig. At this time, they could also see that the gap in strength between Yi Shiwen and the demon general and the wind demon berserk ape was not as big as what they had shown. At least, it was not to the extent that Yi Shiwen could kill it in one blow. In fact, the entire battle was under Yi Shiwen's control. Although it seemed that he had suppressed these two demons from the beginning to the end and had already used his full strength, he had still kept his true trump card. Although he had displayed a part of his movement technique, Absolutely no one would have thought that his movement technique could actually be so tyrannical to this extent. This was what really caught the two of them off guard. If they had known that Yi Shiwen had such a movement technique, they would definitely have been on guard. Then, with the two of them joining forces, Yi Shiwen might not be able to do anything to them for a while. That was why he had this hidden strategy. When everyone thought about this, they were immediately drenched in cold sweat. In their eyes, it was difficult to conceal the horrified expression. It was not a big deal for a person to have talent. There were too many people with talent in this world. It was simply like a white steed flitting across a crevice. It was hard to count. However, those who could reach the peak in the end were only in the single digits. Among these people, there were many whose talent was not so outstanding in the past. If fighting talent could be considered as a talent, then Yi Shiwen would undoubtedly be regarded as one of the geniuses. Yi Shiwen didn't care about the horrified look in the eyes of these people. He just calmly grabbed the wind cores from the corpses of the two generals and put them in a Tianyuan mirror. The surrounding devil generals had already run away. Yi Shiwen didn't know where they had gone, but after seeing Yi Shiwen slaughtering their two devil generals, they didn't dare to stay any longer. As far as Yi Shiwen's eyes could see, not a single devil general could be seen. It was as if at this moment they were all dead. Yi Shiwen didn't care about it. He didn't have a strong killing nature. Any killing was just to enhance his strength. These ordinary devils, no matter how many he killed, it wouldn't have much effect on him. Therefore, Yi Shiwen didn't have any intention to continue the chase. This also made many demons who were secretly watching Yi Shiwen breathe a sigh of relief. If this killer continued to chase after them, then they would not know what to do. Yi Shiwen was like a demon god in the world. His eyes swept across the crowd coldly. He just glanced at everyone faintly. Then his eyes locked on a Sea Clan warrior among the warriors of various clans. Step by step, he walked towards the martialist of the Sea Clan. "What are you doing?" The Sea Clan warrior finally thought of something at this time. He looked at Yi Shiwen in horror. "Are you going to attack us? If you really do this, then you will be exterminating yourself from all clans." At this time, he also wanted to drag the experts of other clans into the water to share Yi Shiwen's pressure. At this time, many experts of other clans had distanced themselves from this Sea Clan warrior. At this time, he still wanted to drag them into the water. It was unforgivable. He even wanted to drag them into the water together against Yi Shiwen. It was simply a joke to say that he would be exterminating himself from all clans. After reaching this level, there were fewer scruples in doing many things, especially for a loner like him with no background. At this time, he was even more of an existence that could not be provoked. Crown Prince Crocodile was arrogant enough. If he wanted to kill someone, he would become a fool, yet no one really went to suppress him. At this time, they didn't hate Yi Shiwen. Instead, they hated that sea race expert to death. "You sent a message just now, didn't you?" Yi Shiwen just looked at the Sea Clan expert faintly and said, "If I guess correctly, you should be reporting to Crown Prince Crocodile." "So what? If you go against Crown Prince Crocodile, you are going against the entire Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan. There is no place for you in the entire Flourish Cloud Sea region. You will die a horrible death sooner or later," the Sea Clan warrior said sternly. Judging from his tone, even he himself did not have much confidence. When he sent a message to Crown Prince Crocodile, he was still confident that he could secretly report to Crown Prince Crocodile and let Crown Prince Crocodile turn back to kill Yi Shiwen. But later, when he saw Yi Shiwen killing the two Demon Clan demon generals with thunderous means, his confidence was shaken. Even the two experts, who seemed to be similar to Crown Prince Crocodile, were killed by Yi Shiwen in one fell swoop. Even if Crown Prince Crocodile had a chance of winning, it was not as big as he thought at the beginning. At this time, he naturally had no confidence. A smile flashed at the corner of Yi Shiwen's mouth, as if mocking his ignorance. He didn't say anything, but he stretched out his hand and directly killed the Sea Clan warrior on the spot. His expression was abnormally cold. He sneered again and again. "Crown Prince Crocodile is coming? That's great. It saves me the trouble of looking for him. It's time to settle some grudges." The grudge between Yi Shiwen and the Crown Prince had been going on for too long. Not long after he came to the Flourish Cloud Sea region, he had already confronted the Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan. Starting from Yishiangtian, the Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan's younger generation experts died in his hands. The hatred between the two sides had also deepened. If Crown Prince Crocodile died in his hands, Yi Shiwen believed that the entire Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan would be furious at that time. But he didn't care. Even if he didn't kill Crown Prince Crocodile, the Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile clan would not let him go as long as there was a chance. There was no room for reconciliation between the two sides. The relationship between the two sides could only be a life-and-death one. In this case, there was only one way. Let's settle this once and for all with Crown Prince Crocodile. As he said, he immediately sat down. He didn't care what others thought at all. He sat cross-legged and refined the two wind cores. Tianyuan mirror above his head cast layers of blood-colored light curtains, completely enveloping him in it. He actually went into close cultivation on the spot. These warriors immediately looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Knowing that Crown Prince Crocodile was coming, Yi Shiwen still dared to cultivate in seclusion here. Yi Shiwen's attitude was to wait for Crown Prince Crocodile to come to his death. Yi Shiwen had absolute confidence in himself, thinking that Crown Prince Crocodile would die without a doubt. If it were before, they would definitely think that Yi Shiwen was seeking his own death. In other words, how could ordinary people be Crown Prince Crocodile's opponent? Even those Crown Prince Crocodile's opponents dared not look down on Crown Prince Crocodile. But now, they were not so shocked in their hearts. After directly slaughtering the two invincible Transcendent Realm 8th level demons, Yi Shiwen's strength had been completely elevated in their hearts. He was even higher than Crown Prince Crocodile. He might have done this because he really had the confidence to do so. At the very least, it should be a situation where neither victory nor defeat was inevitable. With Yi Shiwen's speed, it was easy to escape. Perhaps even they didn't notice that the balance of victory and defeat in their hearts had unknowingly tilted towards Yi Shiwen. They did not dare to get too close to Yi Shiwen. The scene of the Sea Clan warrior being slapped to death on the spot was still vivid in their minds. But in the face of the upcoming duel of the century, they did not want to miss it. They could only hide not far away, quietly waiting for Crown Prince Crocodile's arrival like Yi Shiwen. Of course, the most important thing was that in the entire 5th level, only the place where Yi Shiwen was located had no demons around. Here, they did not have to fight continuously. They could take a breather, especially those with weak strength. At this time, this place was a rare Pure Land. Of course, for many people, their hearts were also drumming. Will Crown Prince Crocodile come? Although he received the message, it was still a very suspenseful question whether he would come or not. When Yi Shiwen and Crown Prince Crocodile fought before, Crown Prince Crocodile let Yi Shiwen go because of the demon subduing tower's excavation. Now Crown Prince Crocodile and others were already on the 6th level, only one level away from the core 7th level. They were determined to obtain the demon subduing tower. Would the ambitious Crown Prince Crocodile come back to intercept Yi Shiwen just because he received the message? If Crown Prince Crocodile did not come back, wouldn't the show be over? Suddenly, everyone was a little conflicted, but it was just a conflict. Even if Crown Prince Crocodile did not come, they could only stay here. Staying here was the safest. Of course, they did not know that the demon generals on the lower levels had been slaughtered by Yi Shiwen. If they returned the way they came at this time, they could probably rush out directly. But at this time, Yi Shiwen had no time to care about them. With the Tianyuan mirror's protection, he was very relieved. He directly entered the state of close cultivation. He had to refine the wind core quickly and deduce the wings of wind to the great perfection state. With the wings of wind in the great perfection state, his strength would be greatly improved. It would be fine if Crown Prince Crocodile did not appear at that time. If he appeared, Chapter 967. At this time, Yi Shiwen was completely immersed in the absorption of the wind core. There was an endless amount of wind power boiling within these wind cores. Yi Shiwen unleashed his martial power to absorb the power of the wind. The power of the wind contained within these wind cores was like a great river. It was constantly being absorbed and then instilled into his body. These wind powers contained a lot of demon aura. But for Yi Shiwen, these were not a problem. Tianyuan Mirror directly transformed them into the spiritual energy Yi Shiwen needed. The demon aura was transformed into spiritual energy and absorbed by Yi Shiwen, but the wind power was absorbed by the wings of wind in his body. This pure wind power was much purer than before. The wind power of this demon general was indeed worlds apart from the wind power of those ordinary demons. Initially, the wind power of ordinary wind demons had no effect on Yi Shiwen at all. No matter how many he killed, there was no way to advance the wings of wind that was approaching great perfection. In other words, the entire wings of wind seemed to have reached great perfection. The potential had been fully stimulated, and it was impossible to make further progress. But he knew that his wings of wind had not yet been cultivated to the great perfection. There was still room for improvement. But even if he knew this, there was no way at all because the wings of wind showed no signs of reaching great perfection at all. Not to mention achieving integration with the wings of lightning and truly condensing the wings of wind and thunder to great perfection. Even he wondered if it was possible to achieve this. But now, he could feel that the wings of wind had improved again after just absorbing the wind core of the wind demon violent ape. Although it might be a negligible improvement, he knew that his wings of wind had not reached the great perfection. By borrowing the wind cores of these two demon generals, he could cultivate the wings of wind to the great perfection. Thinking of this, he didn't think too much. Since this method proved effective, he naturally didn't care about other things. He wanted to cultivate the wings of wind to the great perfection before Crown Prince Crocodile returned from the 6th floor. At that time, his strength would have a significant improvement. If Crown Prince Crocodile did not return from the 6th level, then he would try to push his cultivation to the Transcendent Realm 6th level in one go. If he could do it, even the Transcendent Realm 9th level expert would not be his opponent. At that time, he would not wait for Crown Prince Crocodile to come, but he would take the initiative to settle the score with Crown Prince Crocodile. Transcendent Realm 9th level. Among the younger generation of the Flourish Cloud Sea region, Transcendent Realm 9th level was definitely at the pinnacle. Even among the old monsters of the older generation, except for some law manifestation old monsters who didn't show up all year round, Transcendent Realm could be regarded as the pinnacle. At that time, the situation was naturally completely different from now. All he needed now was time. Fortunately, even if Crown Prince Crocodile returned from the 6th floor, it would take a lot of time to pass through the demon encirclement. This gave Yi Shiwen time to cultivate. Little by little, the wind wings entered the state of great perfection and were constantly flapping around him, setting off strong winds and huge waves, completely wrapping him in it. Many people who were paying attention to Yi Shiwen also discovered that they couldn't see the situation inside. Yi Shiwen, who was completely wrapped in it, was like being in a huge cocoon. In the cocoon, Yi Shiwen's figure became fainter and fainter, slowly disappearing in front of them. But they all knew that Yi Shiwen was probably in close cultivation. Many people were horrified. Yi Shiwen was already terrifying now. After he came out of close cultivation, he would be even stronger. At this time, everyone had begun to look down on Crown Prince Crocodile. There was no time in the mountains, and cultivation was timeless. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed in the blink of an eye. For Yi Shiwen, who was in cultivation, there was no difference in time at all. For those warriors of various clans who were entrenched in places not far from Yi Shiwen, it was also very short. Yi Shiwen's previous battle with the Wind Demon Violent Ape and the Demon General also benefited them a lot. At this time, they also took this opportunity to digest the gains this time. Their strength had more or less improved. The eyes looking at Yi Shiwen were no longer so cold. After all, in any case, they also gained these benefits because of Yi Shiwen. Naturally, they would not be like before. However, even if they were hostile to Yi Shiwen, they would never dare to provoke Yi Shiwen. Not to mention anything else, just the martial art instrument entrenched above his head exuded an aura that made their hearts palpitate. They dared not approach at all. Otherwise, they would die. This was what their intuition told them. They believed in their intuition. Where is Yishuan? At this time, a sudden shout came from a distance. Dozens of tyrannical, transcendent realm auras flew from a distance. Everyone saw that the person in the lead was none other than Crown Prince Crocodile. Behind him were Shur and Xing. Behind them were a group of vanishing shadow, poisonous crocodile clan experts. They really came back from the 6th floor. "Oh my God!" someone exclaimed. Although Yi Shiwen said to wait here for Crown Prince Crocodile to come, many people actually did not think that Crown Prince Crocodile would follow. After all, compared with Yi Shiwen's grievances, the demon subduing tower was more important. As long as they obtained the demon subduing tower, it was just a piece of cake to suppress Yi Shiwen. This demon subduing tower was the existence that suppressed the entire sealed site. No one knew what grade of martial art instrument it was. Many people speculated that it was at least a heaven-level martial art instrument. If the legend was true, a demon clan god was sealed in this sealed site. Then, this demon subduing tower was at least a deity-level martial art instrument. After all, apart from a deity-level martial art instrument, who could suppress a god for hundreds of millions of years? Most importantly, apart from a god, who could be immortal and exist forever in the world. Even the experts who surpassed the transcendent realm would die after 10,000 years. This sealed site had existed for many years. If the demon clan suppressed in the sealed site was still alive, it was not a descendant bloodline. It was most likely a god, a living demon clan god. This was a terrifying thing to think about. For mortals, gods were only legendary beings. It was hard to say whether they existed or not. For transcendent realm experts like them, they had lived for a long time. Some of them even had a long inheritance. Naturally, they knew about the existence of the deities. Once upon a time, the ancient Barrens continent was ruled by the deities. Everything in the world would tremble under the deities' might and submit to their rule. There were no exceptions. It was just that it was many years ago. For them now, gods were also legends. However, when they thought that a god might be suppressed here, they were excited. Because of this, the demon subduing tower was precious. If the vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan obtained the demon subduing tower, it would not be a problem to dominate the Flourish Cloud Sea region. How could Crown Prince Crocodile give up such an opportunity and come back to kill Yishuan? Have you noticed? This Crown Prince Crocodile is more terrifying than before. A sharp-eyed expert suddenly noticed and said. Everyone looked over. Sure enough, Crown Prince Crocodile's aura was deep and vast like the sea. Compared to before, it was a world of difference. Has he entered the Transcendent Realm 9th level? Asked someone. No, he hasn't entered the Transcendent Realm 9th level yet. He is still at the 8th level. However, judging from his aura, I'm afraid the average Transcendent Realm 9th level may not be his opponent. It's truly terrifying, said someone knowledgeable. During this time, Crown Prince Crocodile might have some amazing encounters. Everyone was silent, compared to the first group who left them behind, except for the person who followed the vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan. The others were more or less resentful. To be honest, if it weren't for Yi Shiwen's presence that greatly deterred those demons, they would lose many more people during this period. They all regretted being bewitched and rushing in rashly. But what could they do now? They had benefited from Yi Shiwen's side. The balance in their hearts was inevitably on Yi Shiwen's side. They initially thought that once Crown Prince Crocodile appeared, it would be a dead end. Yi Shiwen would only be stronger after the close cultivation. They just didn't expect Crown Prince Crocodile to have such strength as soon as he appeared. This made them worried. Could Yi Shiwen stop the current Crown Prince Crocodile? Look, not only Crown Prince Crocodile, but also Xing and Shur. They have already reached the Transcendent Realm 8th level pinnacle. Their strength is not much worse than the previous Crown Prince Crocodile. There are also 5 vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan members who have also entered the Transcendent Realm 8th level. The others have also entered the Transcendent Realm 7th level. Hiss, did they excavate the Divine Tomb? Someone with sharp eyes looked at the back and suddenly took a breath of cold air. Everyone was stunned. If it was only Crown Prince Crocodile's strength that improved, it was nothing. There were always various opportunities in the demon subduing tower. Didn't Yi Shiwen improve a lot? However, even the vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan's strength had an overall improvement. Yi Xing and Yi Shi had directly soared from Transcendent Realm 8th level to Transcendent Realm 8th level pinnacle. Some even entered the Transcendent Realm 8th level. This was absolutely abnormal. Could it be the Holy Realm on the 6th level? Otherwise, how could the vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan improve so quickly? Chapter 968. Everyone was puzzled. Could it be that the 6th floor was really a paradise for immortals? Otherwise, how could these vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan experts improve their strength so much all of a sudden? Everyone was baffled. They didn't know how this happened. In the spiritual aura cocoon, it was still absorbing the demon aura and spiritual aura. It seemed that there were no changes due to the arrival of Crown Prince Crocodile. Although many warriors watching the battle had different thoughts, Crown Prince Crocodile arrived quickly. He soon found Yi Shiwen's spiritual aura cocoon in the center, almost outshining the others. They smelled a familiar scent on this cocoon. It was Yi Shiwen. Crown Prince Crocodile narrowed his eyes and grabbed with his big hand. A human clan warrior, who was watching the battle in the distance, was immediately caught by him. A huge suction force made the warrior almost helpless and was sucked over. "Is Yi Shiwen inside?" asked Crown Prince Crocodile faintly. And the human clan warrior nodded hurriedly. Yi Shiwen wanted to wait here for Crown Prince Crocodile's arrival. There was no need to sacrifice himself. "That's it." Crown Prince Crocodile smiled faintly. His expression was full of confidence. The original fear of Yi Shiwen's strength had disappeared without a trace. It was the confidence brought by the improvement of his own strength. He was confident that no matter how Yi Shiwen struggled, he could not escape from his hands. Puff! The human clan warrior in his hand was squeezed into a blood mist on the spot without any warning, and then he absorbed it. Crown Prince Crocodile's expression was indifferent, as if he had crushed an insignificant ant. This was his confidence and confidence. The warriors watching on the sidelines also held their breath at this time, for fear that they would be killed by this killer at this time. The human clan warrior, just now, was a lesson for them. Compared with Yi Shiwen, this was a truly temperamental demon. From the time they came into contact with Yi Shiwen, at least they knew that Yi Shiwen would not kill for no reason. But the one in front of them was absolutely capable. Perhaps in his eyes, apart from themselves, everyone was an ant that could be killed at will. Such a temperamental person was the most terrifying. "Yi Shiwen, why don't you come out and accept your death?" At this time, among the vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan, a Transcendent Realm 8th level expert stepped forward and yelled. He had just ascended to the Transcendent Realm 8th level. He was feeling proud of himself. At this time, he naturally wouldn't put Yi Shiwen in his eyes. Just like Crown Prince Crocodile, all vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan experts also thought that Yi Shiwen would die this time. Yi Shiwen's odds of winning were slim initially, not to mention that their strength had improved tremendously. However, after looking at the blood-colored light screen, the spirit energy cocoon remained motionless, as if it hadn't heard their voices at all. Courting death. At this moment, that expert could only feel that he had been humiliated. Losing his face, he flew into a rage and slapped down with his palm. It was as if the entire world was about to collapse, and it directly fell on Yi Shiwen's body. Clang! However, a loud noise was heard. That big handprint failed to fall on Yi Shiwen's body, but completely fell on the body of Tianyuan Mirror, and was blocked by Tianyuan Mirror. Crown Prince Crocodile was a little surprised. He didn't expect that Tianyuan Mirror could withstand the full blow of a Transcendent Realm 8th level expert without anyone controlling it. His eyes were sparkling. Yi Shiwen always had a magic tool that made him drool. Although he didn't have many life source magic tools, it didn't matter if he had other magic tools. The more, the better. especially the emergence immortal exterminating saber. Compared with this saber, the Demon Dao saber was not worth mentioning at all. This was also a saber that he had been unforgettable day and night. Of course, he was also very wary in his heart. After all, the saber exuded an aura that made his heart palpitate. But it was just fear. He also knew that Yi Shiwen would never use that saber easily. Otherwise, he wouldn't let him go back then. With Yi Shiwen's vengeful character, he might kill him on the spot. A martial instrument that couldn't be fully controlled was not terrifying no matter how powerful it was. Crown Prince Crocodile still had this bit of confidence. But even so, he still coveted the emergence immortal exterminating saber. If he could get it, he could be said to be invincible among the younger generation. No matter what, this emergence immortal exterminating saber must be obtained. The Transcendent Realm 8th level expert suddenly became a little angry. He was stumped by Yi Shiwen. It was a great shame for him. Boom! 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 In anger, he constantly bombarded the blood-colored light curtain. However, the blood-colored light curtain was like a wall, absorbing all the attacks and emitting bursts of blood-colored light. No matter how stupid he was, he knew that his attack couldn't do anything to that ancient mirror. Yi Shiwen, are you still not coming out? Then, I'm going to make a move. At this time, Crown Prince Crocodile looked at Yi Shiwen coldly and said. The vigorous qi on his body began to spread in circles, sweeping out and completely enveloping Yi Shiwen. His strength had greatly improved compared to a few months ago. He had unparalleled confidence. Crown Prince Crocodile, you are still so impatient. Even if you want to die. A cold voice came from the spiritual aura cocoon, but it was a mocking voice. The spiritual aura on the cocoon quickly dissipated, revealing Yi Shiwen's figure sitting cross-legged in it. The Tianyuan mirror hovering above his head was also withdrawn into his body at once. Listening to your tone, you knew we were coming? Crown Prince Crocodile looked at Yi Shiwen faintly and asked, If I didn't know you were coming, why would I wait here for you to send yourself to the door? The messenger was too considerate. Otherwise, how could you all appear in front of me so neatly? Said Yi Shiwen. Arrogant, arrogant. Suddenly, those vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan members scolded. They all thought that Yi Shiwen was simply arrogant. They came in an aggressive manner. Originally, they wanted to eradicate Yi Shiwen. Who would have thought that Yi Shiwen would have such an attitude? It was as if they were lambs walking into a tiger's mouth. How could they, who were full of confidence, accept it? It's really interesting. Crown Prince Crocodile was not in a hurry. It was not because he was not in a hurry to kill Yi Shiwen, but because he was too confident. He was confident that he could kill Yi Shiwen easily. But this is all you can do. Today is the day you die. Stupid. If I don't have enough confidence, will I wait for you here? Said Yi Shiwen with a faint smile. Even if you have a certain degree of confidence, I have already made full preparations. In any case, you can't escape from my palm. Crown Prince Crocodile smiled faintly. He looked at Yi Shiwen as if he was looking at a clown. He wanted to laugh. Master, don't talk nonsense with him. Let me kill him. At this time, Isher finally couldn't stand it anymore. He stepped forward and said. He stared at Yi Shiwen with a malicious gaze. He had to avenge his brother's death. If he did not have much confidence in dealing with Yi Shiwen previously, he had enough confidence to deal with Yi Shiwen after stepping into Transcendent Realm 8th level peak. Moreover, he had so many experts following behind him. It could be said that he had nothing to worry about. You are Yi Rui's brother. Yi Shiwen stood up and said casually, He died in my hands. I didn't expect you to follow in his footsteps. How dare you? I can't believe you are so arrogant. My brother was killed by you, and you don't repent? How dare you speak such arrogant words? Isher felt like his lungs were going to explode. The three corpse gods were furious. Repent? Why should I repent? Since you want to kill me, you should be prepared to be killed by me. Yi Shiwen sneered as if he was laughing at Isher's ridiculousness. He actually wanted Isher to repent. Yi Shiwen would never show any form of leniency towards his enemies because he knew very well that any leniency towards his enemies was equivalent to committing a crime against himself. Looking at the crowd coming aggressively, Yi Shiwen just sneered. These people were probably very sure that they would be able to deal with Yi Shiwen. He was also a little surprised. What kind of good stuff was on the 6th level? In such a short time, these vanishing shadow, poisonous crocodile clan experts had all improved to such a level. It was no wonder they were all confident. If it were him a few months ago, he would probably be killed on the spot. But now, his wind wings were already at the great perfection realm. Although he had yet to complete the fusion of the wind wings and lightning wings, his speed was already unparalleled in the transcendent realm. Even if there were 10 times more people, he could still escape if he wanted to. Therefore, the so-called plans of these people were so ridiculous in his opinion. However, it was precisely because he saw the progress of these vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan experts that he was more eager to enter the 6th level. For the vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan experts to have such a great improvement, it meant that there must be a lot of good stuff. He had fallen behind a lot. After killing these vanishing shadow poisonous crocodile clan experts, he would immediately rush to the 6th level. After he beheaded the demon general and the wind demon violent ape, there was no one in the entire 5th level who could stop his footsteps. Thinking of this, he didn't want to delay anymore. Yi Shiwen, even if you have the ability to transcend the heavens, don't think about living today. He sure yelled. The demon aura on his body swept up. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.